Hello everyone and welcome to today's analysis video. I'm Toby, as you probably know at this point. And yeah, week 5 of PGIs. It was wild, to say the least. At least, especially the finish of it. But the whole week was just pretty insane. I had the pleasure of casting it alongside with Sims or Richard. And it was just good fun all the way through. It was crazy. The first day wasn't that wild, I feel like, but overall it was a pretty damn good week. For those of you guys who didn't have a chance to watch the games, of course I do strongly recommend that you go back and watch them, either on YouTube or on the PUBG esports or just twitch.tv/PUBG. You can probably scroll through the VODs there as well and you can find them, and you can watch the videos there too. Strongly recommend you doing that. That would be that'd be a good thing, because I mean, whether you do it before you watch the analysis stream or after, it's worth watching, I'd say. This week was pretty freaking insane, especially day 2. But either way, let's get into it. Game number 1 of day number 1. Everyone are on zeros on the leaderboard. No one's got anything in terms of points so far. So let's get right into it. Playing straight north to south, or at least as straight as you can expect it to. Pretty straightforward. Let's see here. Is there anything out of the ordinary? And it's always fun when I do these analysis streams on games that I've casted myself, because usually I don't do that, but I figured that now we're in the weekly finals. Even if I cast some of them, I still want to do the analysis. So it is, I mean, if you watch the games, it is, part of it is me recapping what I kind of might have already said during the game. But still, here we get to pause it. Here we get to sit back and talk about things a little differently. So one of the first things that catches my eye is, and if you didn't watch the previous analysis streams I've done already, and hello, beard guys. If you didn't watch the previous analysis streams I've done already, we had, I believe it was during the analysis of the week 3 finals, we had Batulans in here. Very talented players, and captain, you can see him right there, captain for Virtus Pro. We had him in here while we were doing the analysis stream, and I asked him because they had given up Power Grid. They usually always go and loot there. They had given up Power Grid to Multi-Circle Gaming, and then instead they went down and looted down here where DA is now, because DA didn't make those finals in week 3. And I asked him, so Batulans, what do you do? Because I know they like looting Power Grid, but now that they could just go down here was fine anyway, right? So what will you do if you end up in a weekly final where both Multi-Circle Gaming and DA are? Because then you can't go down here and you would have to fight for this. And then I said, would you fight Power Grid? Would you fight Multi-Circle Gaming for Power Grid? And he said yes. And then they didn't. I was hoping to see it happening, but it didn't end up happening. So VP, they go up towards the north, and that's really the only thing that's, and it's not even out of the ordinary. It's just the only thing really that stands out or sticks out in any way, shape, or form here of the early game. Genji out towards the west again. Been there plenty of times before. Now they don't get to go towards Picado either. And yeah, overall it's pretty much as expected how teams landing and looting early on here in this one. We did see it pretty much an instant kill. You see it here happening. So Danche is looting up far west. I mean, look at this. Look at the split from, oops. Oh, do we really have to do this? Okay, we'll do this super fast. I have to log in again. It doesn't remember my login. Oh, wait, we only have to do the username. Now I have my emails as well. No. For anyone who watched last week's videos as well, you would you will have seen the same thing. Note to self, always make sure that you're logged in before you start the analysis stream. Now we know, and hopefully it won't happen again. So let's continue. What happened in the very early portion of the game is that as they come out and loot towards the east, Danche instantly drives down. I like this play from them. So they jump out from the center. They jump out center. Danche goes down, finds a vehicle, and usually you can see him drive down here. He instantly takes a car, drives down here, and there you go. drives down here, and I accidentally just reset my alerts. So drives down here, and usually we just stick around and get looted up, maybe go over here, right? But then the circle pops, and the remaining T1 players are all the way down towards Los Leones. As soon as the circle pops, he goes, let's go out towards the east. And why is that? Again, talked about it during the game, but I'll gladly say it once more. Ents ain't around here. Ents is usually one of the teams that lands out towards the east, so it's really only infantry they have to worry about, and to some extent the Freak of Freaks as well. So Danger just goes full speed forward. Instead of stopping down here and looting, he just sends it. Scouts forward, goes down, takes this compound. And I don't know if Xiaoyang didn't hear it or what happened, because he just full speed goes up and ends up getting taken down. So I think he was just looting, having a good time, thinks that he can continue his loot path, and he goes down because of it. So smart, early reaction play from Danche to go up and claim a spot to play from. They get a circle. Adder can come up there as well. Smart early play from T1 to go up and claim territory there. Everyone else gonna start making their rotations on in. Nothing really, again, out of the ordinary. Enter Force 36 going more center than what I would expect them to in this type of circle. And also, I mean, this dip is not a bad spot to be in. You have somewhat of an access point to both sides of the road. But picking it phase 1 and sitting 4 together there, that is a little... what's the opposite of greedy? Overly defensive. It's... Usually I don't want to say I punish, but usually I criticize teams for being too greedy. Conservative, yeah, could be conservative, but I'd say usually I criticize, like I mainly criticize, or pretty much only criticize teams for being too greedy. It's rare that I do it the other way around, but for Interforce 36, they had a chance here to, I don't want to say take a lot of different spots, but at least spread out and try and take just a bit more control. Instead, they all find themselves sitting on top of each other in phase 1. They could have kept people by junkyard when they drove past. They could have tried to split out to more than one dip, so they could have taken control of the other hill as well. They could have sent one down to the shack to scout further forward this way. And instead, they kind of just pin themselves in. And it's the exact same thing that they do when they're on the edge of the circle. We will see it in the next game, or else we will see it in the games from day 2, where Interforce oftentimes find themselves in really, really good positions. Like, they oftentimes make extremely smart rotations, like this one, to come from up here and maneuver their way all the way through down towards the center, or well, somewhat center of the north side of the circle. That's a pretty smart position to go to. That's a pretty wise rotation from them. They just don't take advantage of it, really, by then kind of playing quiet. You can see they are maneuvering around. They are trying to get vision, but they're playing pretty quiet. Now they do start to spread out a little. Unfortunately, they do get one knock, but they get him up, and now they can start taking more control. So I like that. It's just oftentimes they're I guess overly passive, and it kind of comes to bite them in the butt when they then, because they allow for other teams to do whatever they want around them, they then kind of get overrun by them. But of course, I mean, it is their first weekly final, and pressure and whatnot, but also just in general, the Japanese team and the Japanese meta and way of playing. If you ever watch like the Japanese only tournaments that there are, PGIs and all those, you will see that the way that Interforce 36 plays, it's not that different actually from how many other teams in Japan play. In Japan, oftentimes there are a lot of people alive until the very end. Just because they don't really take fights the same as other regions do. So they come from one region where that's the style of play. That style of play just gets punished a lot when you then go up against teams that are more aggressive or more... Again, I don't want to say greedy is the right word, but when you go up against teams that dare to take more control, and maybe they have better aim too. Yeah, no, it's not really a confidence thing either, because I think Interforce 36 are a pretty confident team. They just do things in another way. They're used to having to do things in one way in order to win. Because the thing is, if you're a super aggressive team, let's say, okay, so a aggressive team, let's say DA, pretty aggressive team, right? Let's say they go to Japan and play against 15 Japanese teams. Like 16 teams on the server, DA, or infantry, maybe an even better example. Infantry versus 15 Japanese teams. While infantry might have a chance of going out and getting kills because other teams are passive, they will just get third-party too hard because there's way more people alive in the mid and late game than there usually would be. So there's just no space to try and spread out and take control when everyone's playing it passive together. So because they're forced into a playstyle because everyone else is doing that type thing, it's difficult for them to really do things in another way. And then when they come to these tournaments where the, I guess you can say, kind of main playstyle is a little more aggressive, then they get overrun. I mean, that is what makes them that is what makes them an aggressive team, Waggy. That they dare to make aggressive plays and rotations. Buriram is the most aggressive? I wouldn't say so. DA is a pretty aggressive team when you think about it. When you see how much they pull up on things and how much they crash. I know that sometimes they go center and play a shack, but that's very map dependent, very situational. I mean, sending it full speed center to play, like to get a spot, that's a pretty aggressive move. Aggression doesn't necessarily have to be about running out and trying to kill everyone. It's there's much more to it. Either way, let's continue. Right now, one of the things, infantry, we spoke about them just before, they're in a pretty wide split. They want to group up, of course, with the circle shifting. They have a Freak of Freaks and T1 in between them, and somehow they actually both managed to make their way over there. So pretty smart rotation on their part. Down towards the south, we have Sonics and Impala. Both they lose 1 or 2, I believe, to them in just a short moment. Day Trade trying to sit below as well and take some sort of control. And then we see phase 3 pop, and this is where things get pretty ugly, because now this circle pops. And we've talked about this before, and I talk about this when I cast, and I've heard people not complain, but say that we keep saying the same thing about, oh, it's phase 4, the circle's gonna shift away from water. And, you know, I don't mind saying those things every single game, because the way that I like to cast, and that's also part of the reason why I do these streams afterwards, is because when I do these streams, I feel like they cater not only, but more to the people that are more engaged and more involved and more interested in the more kind of in-depth aspects of PUBG esports. Whereas to when I'm casting, I try to cater to everyone. And for me to spend 2 minutes or maybe 1 minute of a 30-minute game trying to, even though it's every game, explain how phase 4 shifts away from things. Phase 4 is going to shift away from the water. Let's draw it up differently. It's going to shift away from this, it's going to shift away from that, and it's going to shift away from that, and technically also this, right? For me to spend 2 seconds trying to explain that every single game, in case there's a viewer that didn't know, I will gladly do that. I will gladly go out and explain that to viewers so that they know. They can go, but why, Toby? Why does every team go up here and no one's playing down here? Why is that? That's because the circle's going to shift away from that, and all of this. So if you look at that, where can the circle go now? It can pretty much only go up towards the north. That's why people go there. So for any viewer coming in, whether it's when I do these analysis streams or whether if it's while we're casting games, even though you know it already as a viewer, it's always nice to give that info across as well, because look at how teams rotate now. Once this circle pops, once we see this circle shift, look how, let's count it up. Right now, if we do this cut, right now we have 1, not even, but 1, 2, they're split as well. So let's just say we have 2 teams, we will say 3 with Sonics as well. 3 teams on the south half. Let's see how many teams will be on the south half by the time the next circle pops. See what's happening? Everyone's rotating north already. Everybody are cramming their way up to the north side of the circle. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 2 teams. Only 2 teams of all the teams that were outside the circle. How many teams do we have outside the circle right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Only 2 of 10 teams sat on the south side of the circle by the time the next circle popped. And why is that? Because they knew this shift was coming. And that's massive information. If you know that as a viewer, if you know that as a player, most importantly, which of course they all do, that is so much info you don't have to scout for. You know that by the time this circle is closed in, there will be many more people up here than there would be down here. And also, of course, I mean, it's got to do with the fact that there's a lot of this terrain that you can't really utilize for anything. But, I mean, no matter where on the map it is, if you know the terrain, if you know what's playable and what's not, that's really big info, both as a player, but also as a viewer. Sitting and watching and trying to make sense of things, going, why the hell do we have like 12 teams up here and 4 down towards the south? Because they knew that next shift was coming. And it did. So now let's see. We're forcing everyone out of the cities. We have pretty much got 2.5, 3 compounds left, if we count this a compound as well. 3.5 compounds left. And everything else is just open hills. And not only that, but it's open down towards the south. So the 2 teams that are sitting down here, they're going to have a fun time. Because everything here is open down in... I'm so good at drawing, I know. It's all like going downhill towards the south. That's what I was trying to draw with those. And the thing is, you have these crevasses. And a crevasse, for those of you guys who don't know that word, it's like when you have a valley or like... Oh, God damn it. Last time we did these analysis streams, I said that I had to start reading up on like geography terminology, and I haven't. But I know what a crevasse is because I've snowboarded a lot, and we go through a lot of them. I believe it's a French word originally, and you go. It's like when you have a. It's not a valley, so it goes down like this, but it goes downhill. Does that make any sense? Topography, yeah, exactly. So it goes like this. It's like a half pipe, but with steep sides, but it goes down that direction. That's the only way I can draw it. Doesn't it make any sense? So it goes like this. It's like if you take a piece of paper, I will take this piece of paper with nothing on it. This is what a crevasse is. You take a piece of paper, fold it in half. This, but downhill. So that is a crevasse. There you go. Now you know what a crevasse is, for those of you guys who didn't. And then it's probably wrong. No, I'm pretty sure it's correct. But there are a lot of them here. That's what I was trying to say with this. A lot of these areas out towards the east are facing downhill because that's where the hills, well, that's where the downhill is. And they're facing straight into the compounds. And that's what the issue is, right? So you can have this position here. We can go, great, we can sit down here. But no, now you can't because the compound is just looking straight up. And when you're trying to sit tight, when you're trying to sit up here to be in cover of the teams that are over here on the other side, you can't use that for cover because there's a team sitting below you and shooting at you as well. So no matter where you're sitting in these situations, you're going to be shot at. That was a very long explanation of something that could have been said much faster, but I hope it made sense. And that's why, to sum it up, that's why a lot of this terrain is incredibly difficult to play as long as these compounds are still in down towards the south. Does that make sense? I hope it did, because I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to say that. Yeah. Now, I hope that makes sense. But that's why you see only so many teams try and play here early on when those 2 compounds are still in play. Of course, I mean, teams are going to be forced to go in there, and then they'll use smokes for cover, vehicles for cover, all these different things to try and work their way around it. What happened in the meantime is Gen G, one of the very edge-favoring teams, they come driving down here. Also your winner, for those of you guys who didn't know. Spoiler, but I assume you know by the time you watch this anyway. They make the rotation over the north side, and I like how this one played out. If we go back for a second. Na'Vi, they come in here. There they go. Senya has pulled up, scouted forward, spots the XG in the compound. Long goes over to take the fight to him. Now they separate them two because he knows he's here. So Na'Vi goes in between to isolate Long. They go out. Best Luck takes him down instantly. Super smart play. on Navi's part. They know Neil is still inside the compound, and they know there are 2 outside. So now they come down. They 3-man just full-on rush through to try and clear him out. They force him away from the building. They clear all the buildings. Go, great, he's not here. Now the fight happens on the other side. What do? Some teams, for example, Enter Force 36, some teams would have just sat in the compound and said, great, they're fighting. We don't have to worry about it because they'll just kill each other. Some teams would be fine with that, but with this north shift and Na'Vi going, okay, so now there is only 4 compounds left in play, and even though this is on the edge, it's a great gateway to the circle. They don't want to have this next to them. They don't want to have people next to them, so they pull up. Even though they had the compound, they could just have stayed here and been safe. They pull up to try and take the fight. They still have Senya across the road to give them the overview. They have Bestalog and Orange up close, and Tap stays back. And why is that? Because in case people come wrapping up, he can feed the info. Na'Vi have the benefit of this third party right now that they can always just fall back if they have to. At least right now. As long as no one is pushing up here, Na'Vi can always just wrap back towards the compound and say, you know what, okay, we got a knock, we got a kill, whatever. Let's just go back and play safe. And right now, Tap is that alarm, like he's that alarm bell. Once the bell rings, Bestalog and Orange knows, great, we have to go back now. We have to go back and help from the compound. So this is what happens. Besto, Orange, both looking over, trying to find kills. Division X Gaming ends up going down. They try and spread out. Here comes the alarm bell. Tap has heard the vehicles. He knows they're coming. Senya over here is looking around for them as well. And look at the immediate response. Orange, boom, back into the compound. Bestalog sets up, tries to spot them as well. Immediately back in the compound. Super smart playing. And what happened with that is that they now granted themselves a buffer zone. So instead of having a team sitting around here, they forced them all the way down into the little valley over here. And Na'Vi now has space to roam around. So smart playing. Smart playing by Na'Vi to be proactive, to go out and take control and not have to sit inside the compound. Because had there now, with this circle, with this new circle popping, had there now been a team sitting here, let's say they sit something like this, it would have been incredibly difficult for Na'Vi to run out in any direction without them getting kind of pinned. Like they could easily just have become isolated by a team here. And they wouldn't have had a chance to get out. But now, because they have made a much bigger buffer zone, they can go out and take more control and still have a portion of the circle to play from. Whether that ends up working out for them or not, that's another story. But they have a chance to make that play, and it works out well. Tianba killed Pio. Can you show where it happened? Rewind. Whoop, 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 whoop. Whoop, 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 whoop. There. Pio, you freaking beast. Pio gets a knock. 2, 3, 4, 700 meters away. Which is fine. You can get a knock 700 meters away and try and get the flush as well. But because he's standing still and saying, no one's gonna see me, right? They do see him. And he ends up going down in return. So he knocks one guy 700 meters away. Neil knocks him back 700 meters away. And then Day Trade from the side goes, mine now. And gets the flush. Puck, I'm not going to answer your question. I'm going to answer your question with another question. Can you read numbers and letters? Because if so, look at the screen. And thank you, Synth. So let's continue. Na'Vi, they hold off. New circle pups. And now the issue becomes where... Watch this. We'll draw a line. I like to draw these lines down the middle just to kind of put things into perspective. Because the circle shifted towards the west, we're now sitting with 1, kind of 2, 3, 4 teams on the east side of the half. 4 teams on the east half. And 9 teams over here. And that's not even true, because we only have 3 teams inside the circle. So we have an additional bunch of teams out here, like 6 teams out here. That is... This is tough. especially when infantry are still playing the compound. Because even though they get shifted out, they're not just gonna, oh, the circle went away, we have to just leave now. No, infantry loves the edge. They like sitting around here trying to see how many kills they can get. So they send one up the hill. This is their anchor point. Now they have a position inside the new circle. Now they have a spot they can go to from where they can play safe inside. Smart playing on their part. Don't over-aggress. Don't get greedy on it. Just go up here, play control, and sit tight. He's going to sit around and wait. In the meantime, infantry's remaining 2 players, 9 and Boliang, are looking for more. I mean, keep in mind, infantry lost players early on, in case you didn't remember. They lost one really early. Xiaoyang went down to T1. Danche killed him in the very, very start of the game. So they're only 3, so they send Longsker up the hill to kind of just keep control. In the meantime, Boliang and 9 are making sure that no one's going to be able to push into the compound and wrap in from behind. So they wait for the circle to close on in. Longsker moves around, doesn't want to aggress early. He just want to wait around for long enough for 9 to come up to help him. Now there are 2. Now they can start taking control. Boliang can make sure that no one's wrapping back this way. In the meantime, the 2 teammates can run up and third party all the cluster chaos that we have going on up here. Circle pops. Now they can move in and once again take control. Boliang stays below. Make sure that no one can try and wrap underneath. In the meantime, 9 and Longsker looks up towards the edge where all this chaos is commencing. Now with the circle shifting away, it's excluded this. They're now in a similar position, right? So infantry has a situation where either they take the fight to the compound, which would be suicidal, so obviously not going to do that, or they're going to try and start clearing the edge. They are only 3, but they're now going to try and see if they can make a move on it. The only issue is if they try to wrap over this hill, and they can't really see it that well on the map, but if you try and wrap up here, these guys will see it. And you can see every single time you see these lines, that's not just a player shooting at you, like it would be. Like if you shoot and you're watching the map in game, it's not even necessarily people hitting their shots, it's just people shooting. These, every time you see a white line like this in the analysis program, it's because people have hit an opponent. And you can see how many times Sonics they have hit up towards infantry. Every single time they try to wrap up here and take control, Sonics have angles on them and they make it incredibly difficult for them to do anything. So they make their way in, they push inside the circle, they say we don't want to sit out here in phase 5 or phase 6 and try and hold off. We got to move inside. And as soon as Sonics see this, and this is what I like about how Sonics played this one, as soon as Sonics realize that infantry don't look this way anymore, they start spreading out. Once infantry backs off from holding here, once Sonics realize they have a free pass here, because if Sonic starts running this way and infantry are still looking here, this crossing becomes incredibly difficult. So once Sonics realize that infantry is looking up here now, they can make their run on out from the compound. Adrian wraps underneath, Shrimsy and Mime crosses over, Tickleton stays behind to gain info, and now they realize, great, by pushing out this way, now that you can see, you can kind of pretty much picture perfect see how they set up their perimeter, right? We have to make sure that Tiamba don't push us. That's the main mission right now. Make sure that Tiamba don't push in our direction. And while doing so, if we can create a big enough buffer here, so that we don't have to worry about a potential Tiamba push coming back this way, then we can start swiping the other way as well. And that's what they do. They come up here, they say, great, Tiamba didn't want to fight us, let's just wrap the other way. You see how they now start moving back. As soon as this commotion starts over here, here comes the players. So they go from a 1-3 split on one side, as they were before. They had the guys over here holding off. Tiggleton was the one guy holding off here. So 3-1. They changed that up instantly to a 3 on this side, 1 on this side, with H-Win being the one holding here. So now H1 is the lurk. He's the one trying to prevent a push in from this side, while the other 3 are the ones looking up in this direction. It happens pretty much instantly, and they did really, really well. Shrimsy comes back to try and help. Again, Sonics, not in a hurry. They have a buffer. They have a bottom of the circle. They have plenty of space, and everyone else is fighting each other right now. And then remember, it's the first game as well. It's the first game of the weekly finals, so of course teams want to get off to a good start. Don't want to go completely super duper over YOLO for kills. And while they have been, I don't want to say passive, because they're pretty proactive. They're moving around a lot trying to get angles. While they do that, Tianba out towards the east play this game, I mean, as good as you could ever require a team to play. They push up, they see a third-party opportunity, they keep Mings and M200 on the south side to take control. These two players right now are essentially filling the same role as HWin and Shrimsy are. They are the ones who late at night during World War One are sitting in their trenches just looking and saying, in case anyone comes here, we will warn you, and no one wants to go into no man's land. Right now, this is no man's land, and no one wants to go there. So Shrimsy, HWin are looking this way. Mings, M200 looking this way. Essentially playing the same role for each of their respective teams, while Tickenson and Mime looking up here. And instead of just looking up here, Linshun and Lorena are trying to take control. Because if they can claim the high ground as well as have the circle to themselves, they're going to be in a golden position. Now circle shifts, they don't have to move. They still manage to get the kills. And all of a sudden, Tiamba just claimed half the circle and we still have 14 players left. So they just claimed half the circle and they're not done there. They're continuing to move forward. They have this entire ridge. Now they know we can take even more control. We can take control of all of it, essentially. We can hold out everyone. And in the meantime, again, Sonics, they're not in a hurry. HWin making sure that no one can push from here. Mime making sure that no one can push from here. Virtus Pro, they've been proning down for a while. They've been trying to play it safe and not get into too much trouble. And this is where things go wrong for Tianba. Right now, solid 2-1-1 split. I love how they're sitting here. I love this position. Again, M200 holding below, Lorena holding above, and Mings and Lin Shun are kind of holding each there. Like they're just looking out. I mean, obviously not in this direction, but looking out down in this direction, right? Lin Shun, I mean, this is where they can't see each other. I mean, sometimes when they peek over, they get an angle, but they can't really get proper eyes on one another. Of course, there's smokes everywhere. There's flashes everywhere. And Lin Shun goes down below now. Instead of fortifying the middle, they gamble. They say, we will expect Sonics to try and make the push around the bottom. That's what we expect Sonics to do. Lorena can sit up here and pretty much see all of this. So in case they try and run up this way, Lorena will have eyes on that. And could feed the info across pretty easily. In the meantime, they haven't really got proper eyes on this down below. M200 would have to wrap around from where HWin will be able to see him. So they say, let's go down and fortify. In case they do this big wrap underneath, M200 alone wouldn't be able to deal with them. So we'll hold here. And then Mings will be kind of the spoiler up close player in this position. But what happens now is Mings gets isolated. Look at this. They try and make an aggressive play. Because they sit around here, they wait for Sonics to push. And instead of waiting, and that's where I think Tianba, they were given too much space in this game and they got a little greedy in the end of it. I like the idea of wrapping around, but had they just waited, it might have worked out better for them. They know that HWin is down here, and he currently is the bait. He is the ultimate bait. He's trying to force them down in his direction. So they wrap down towards the south. Ming spots them over the top. I believe he sees two players. Lorena now has to push down and try and assist. And M200 and Linshun, it's wrong to say that they get too greedy, but they see him down here. And they only see one. And by the time they realize, oh my god, there was only one down here. We thought it was the whole team, or we thought there were more. By the time that happens, Sonics collapse on them. They completely isolate Linshun and M200. You can see this. Lorena would have to run all the way down here in order to be able to see this. Mings have to run all the way around here in order to see this. They isolate them. So where Tickleton and Shrimsy before were the two aggressors up towards the north side, now Tickleton has become the person holding off against the two at the top, while the remaining three plays a 3v2 in the bottom. Extremely smart play by them. One knock on each side. Tickleton, again, he's just playing passive. Don't aggress, don't push forward. He finds Minx in a 1v1. HWin comes in from below, and I believe he finds one more. And in the matter of, I think, 3 or 4 seconds, it goes from being a 4v4 to a 4v1. They get the knocks pretty much simultaneously, and there they go. Because they were allowed control in the middle. Had Tianba maintained this position, played 2 middle, 1 hold below, 1 hold above, this could have been a whole other game. But because they wanted to push them out, they knew they had the circle, because they wanted to push out underneath, it allowed for Sonics to push in and take full control of the middle, and they won the game because of it. So, incredibly well played by Sonics. A gamble from Tiamba that ended up not paying off for them, but incredibly well played by Sonics to read that they were split the way that they were, and then try and punish the split because of it. Great first game for Sonics, which unfortunately for them was also the only great game in that day. But good game for them anyway. Now let's hop on over to the second game on Miramar. And again, guys, if you have any questions along the way, do feel free to ask. That's why we're here. Not the only reason, but that's part of the reason anyway. I will also just take a sip of water. Challenge man, I don't agree with that. Exactly. I mean, that I do agree with. M200 spotted one. They knew there was going to be people coming in, and they had already kind of fortified that south spot, right? But he maybe expected, or they maybe expected. I mean, again, it was a gamble. They expected more people to be coming in from the south side, and that never really ended up happening. So just a tough one for them. Now let's hop on over to game number 2. Playing as fair as can be. Really little on the northern side, but overall pretty decent for everyone to go exactly where they want. DA, they hop up and... Oops, that's not a DA player. There you go. DA hop up and take over craters. That's... while it might not seem to have the biggest impact, it's actually kind of interesting. Also, it's a Force 36 kicks multi-circle gaming out of San Martin. Navi usually like to wrap through this way, and DA jumping in between all of these players now is a little bit annoying, but it works. It's Navi can work around it. DA, they will get themselves looted up. They don't have a massive bunch of vehicle spawns there, I believe, but they should be alright. Virtus Pro in a pretty nice split. We've seen many teams do these splits before, and they will gladly do it again. And then, of course, enter Force 36 in between all of it. So a pretty split center over on this side. Genji, they've taken over Monte. Makes sense now that neither Face or Liquid are here. And yeah, overall, things are pretty much as per usual. Nothing really fancy happening right off the bat here in the first or in the second game. So let's continue and see how this one unfolds as the circle starts closing on in. This area of the map is always interesting. Best of luck. Reads that the compound is taken up above. They wrap around the other way. I like the way that Navi disengaged on that one. Best of luck came on his bike up the hill, trying to scout forward, realizes that smashing code Marco there, backs off instantly. They say, you know what? No reason to contest it. No reason to go over aggressive. DA, and I said this during the broadcast as well, but playing it smart and having both high ground control and also a low ground compound available. Smart splitting in the early game. This as well. I mean, enter Force 36, thank you. Splitting out, taking control. They have the hilltop, they have the compound, they have the hilltop compound, and they have the low ground. I love it. I love it. Perfect early game center position from enter Force 36. Lingdu rotates in between everyone. He has a chance to scout forward this. I mean, you can actually see all of this. Good chance to scout forward. Chiamba wraps over the top. Day Trade wraps over the top. Sonic's coming in late, and so are infantry. Neither team really in a hurry here. New circle. It's gonna pop. And where are we going? This is fun. We talked about this during the broadcast, but you can kind of see how... Look at the timer. The timer down here. Coming into this tournament, before PGIs, the super settings and the rank settings were not the exact same. Now they are. And one of the changes. There's two major changes with the changed super settings. One of the changes is that we now have 1 minute longer. Like the time it takes for this to close in to this in phase 1 is an extra minute. So players have been given extra time in the early game. Before, it would pop at 9 minutes. Now it pops at 10 minutes. That's one of the changes. The other change is that the first circle is actually a little bit smaller than what it used to be. And while you might not think that has the biggest impact, because, I mean, phase 1, it was already pretty damn large, right? The thing is, and we talked about this 2 weeks ago as well, Ditz was in here, the coach from FaZe Clan, and we kind of did a little bit of a discussion on it. The circles in PUBG work this way that they shrink Obviously, that's how the game works. But they shrink according, not they don't have like a phase 1 is 400 meters wide, phase 2 is 200 meters wide. It's not set up like that. It's set up so that the circles shrink according to the size of the previous circle. Does that make sense? So when we only change the size of the first circle, which has been now made a little bit smaller, as a result of that, all the following circles actually become smaller as well. And again, it might not have the biggest impact in the first circle because, okay, so we move like 3, maybe 400 meters in total of the first circle size. It's not a big thing, but when you move out, let's say 300 meters in phase 4, 300 meters in phase 5, when we make it that much smaller in phase 4 and 5, that could be 1, 2, maybe even 3 compounds that aren't in the circle anymore that used to be there. So it can have a big impact. And it's just fun to see how, look at the timing. Everyone is used to playing. I mean, now they're getting more used to this format, of course. But everyone was used to playing that you have the new circle pop at 9 minutes. So if we look at the timer, by the time we hit 9 minutes, there we go. This is when the new circle would have normally popped. Every single player is already inside the circle. It just goes to show that the addition of the extra 1 minute in the early game, I don't think it's really needed. I would love to hear pro players' thoughts on having a 10-minute phase 2 pop instead of for 9 minutes. Because the thing is, players have gotten used. Players have gotten used to looting and rotating and having the 9-minute mark. So just because they get more time doesn't mean that, I mean, okay, so maybe some of the edge teams will like it, but for the most part, when you're done looting, you rotate. I mean, no matter if there's 15 minutes until the next circle pops or if there's 20 seconds until the next circle pops. When you're done looting, you rotate. And since the loot itself hasn't really been changed all that much, with the change of the circle settings, they get done looting at the same time as they would before. So players know, if I want to go center, if I want to do anything to try and take control over anything, then I have to make that move early in order to establish myself. So players will be here, and then they will just sit around in the center for 1 minute longer. Like we see now, the timer is already there. Every player is inside. And now they go, oh, great. Oh, well, I guess we have an extra minute. Let's see what else we can do with that 1 minute until the new circle pops. And now the new circle does pop. Just one of those small things. Just one of those small things that is pretty interesting. This area in particular, and again, I say this every time we have circles that end here, and I say it during the analysis streams, I say it during the broadcasts. Why do I do that? Because I think it's important to mention. This area here brings one very, very big, I don't want to say threat, but one big, there's one big aspect to this, is that the high grounds, which would be the mountaintops and all that, of course, all these crater edges, the hills over here, and the low grounds, which is pretty much where all the roads are. We don't really have high ground roads. I mean, the asphalt or paved roads, these ones are different. The dirt roads are different, but all the asphalt roads are the low ground. And all the compounds by the asphalt are low ground as well, which makes sense. So for the most part, you cannot really claim both high ground and hard cover. Unless if you either A, split, as we see here, Sylvia, down by the road, has hard cover, while Pure Boy has high ground. Now in Pure Boy's position in particular, because there are a few, and that's what makes these compounds extremely valuable. There are a few compounds that grant you both high ground and hard cover. This compound here, this compound here, there, to some extent you don't have the best vision from this compound, but it's still alright. And down towards the south. These compounds, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 compounds, grant you both the high ground that you want to get vision, and also a and this doesn't even grant you all that much vision, but still we'll keep it in because it is elevated. They grant you high ground and they grant you hard cover. Everything else, every other compound, is yes, you get the cover. Yes, you get to sit tight and can hide in a room if that's what you want to do. But it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to scout from there. So if you sit down here, it's very limited what you can do in terms of scouting. If you sit down here, you can look towards the south and you can look up the hill as well, but you can't really see anything going on over on the other side. So teams, for the most part in the early game, and we're still in the early game with phase 2 popping, will try and get both. Like we'll see here, Sylvia, they're splitting 3-way. Lingdu is up on the hill. He has the high ground while the teammates have the hard cover. DA, they have the high ground, or they have the hard cover while the teammates have the high ground. Na'Vi, fortunate to get 2 of the hard cover and high ground compounds. They can do that with them. So that's kind of the picture that I like to paint when we head up towards Crater Fields in this whole area of the map, is that oftentimes, and more so the later in the game that we get, you have to prioritize. Do we want the high ground from where we can scout forward, from where we can see where we want to go, but with the risk of getting shot at? Or do we want the hard cover, which is going to grant us a safety barrier, which is going to give us something we can hide behind, but maybe not get all the info that we could have had we been up on the hill? At some point in the game, we have to pick and choose. For right now, Interforce 36 can try and maintain their split. DA can try and maintain their split because we're still only in phase 2. But once the circles get smaller and smaller, you have to pick one. And now, DA already picking. Interforce 36 doing the same thing. Sylvia playing on the north side of the compound, expecting to get pushed. Reads it perfectly, gets back to the compound with the teammates, and now they lose it. DA, again. DA is not an aggressive team, Kappa. Why would they then force Sylvia away so that they can try and maintain a 2-way split? That is incredibly well played by DA. They go over, they say, haha, we see that you only won there, or we expect that to be the case anyway. They push across with 4, force Sylvia out, backtrack with 2, and now sit in the 2-way split. That is extremely well played by DA. That is a very, very heads-up rotation from them. You guys have been talking a lot, and I don't think a lot of it had to do with me. Why no one plays Power Grid? Because there's a lot of unplayables around Power Grid. That means that a lot of these circles that go anywhere near north never shift back down towards the south. And we still have those in play. Down towards Afrika Freaks, over on this hillside, up on this hillside. Me. I don't think there's any more of it. Not that I can see anyway. This, maybe, I'm actually not sure. Either way. Let's see. This is phase 2. Closing in. Oath trying to make themselves some space up towards the north side. Day Trade coming down on the south side, trying to find a way in. Gen G are far down towards the south as well. Keeping Esther up above to scout forward. PO and Onyx scouting forward. Loki wrapping around the other side, trying to scout forward. And then we head down towards the south. And all these teams that are up here now have to figure how the actual beep do we get into this circle. How do we make our way in? Yeah, meta. Wide 2-way split. It's greedy, but it pays off. The thing is, I mean, the scary portion of that split is, if these two get under attack, if they get pulled up on, you better be ready to leave. You damn better be ready to disengage in order to get up here, in order to get away, because there's no way Silson and Ragnar can help out. Same thing the other way. If Ragnar and Silson gets pulled up on, they have to have their vehicles ready, they have to be ready to go, because Sparking and Wicked has absolutely no chance of getting up there in time to really do anything to help. So it's one of those ballsy splits, but for now, it's paying off for them. New circle pops. Here go the teams. Silson already sending its center, and this is where chaos kind of unfolded in this game, because we know that there are certain things the circle has to shift away from. And on this plateau, you can kind of draw it up here. On this plateau, the plateau itself, like the actual top of it, it's very limited what you can do, especially early on in the game, when all these higher grounds are already, like, are still in play. But the plateau itself, and the south side for that sake, the plateau itself you can't really do anything with. Not yet, anyway. I mean, yes, you can sit in a shack and hide. But there are some dips on the sides. You have a ball over here. You have a little bit dip down here. You have a dip over here. And you have the kind of the edge of the road here that you can do some, like, play around. With the circle shifting down towards the south, you can see T1 is already trying to two-way split this one down towards the south. New circle pops. It goes towards the south. T1 keeps 2 here, and I complimented them on this rotation. They scouted it. They sat up here. They looked for it. They saw that it was open. They sent 2 down, and now they come to help. The only issue is Meta wants to do the exact same thing. Silson comes driving. He realizes, oh damn, it's already taken. Let me get out. Like, let me get out of here this way. Makes perfect sense. You scout, you don't get it, you turn away. All good and dandy, you can go back to your teammates. Issue now is, he starts driving back, and at the exact same time, here comes the we haven't scouted anything, let's just full speed send it, Petrichor. They drive into each other. This becomes a bit of a skirmish. And on top of that, all of T1 comes down. So now we have a brawl. Meta didn't want to pull up on this, or at least Silson didn't. Now they're forced to take the fight because all the meta players came with him. Petrichor in the dip alongside with T1. And this just ends up becoming a full-on clown fiesta. And Meta ends up winning the fight. It was good fun, though. It was very entertaining. One of the few spots that you can play in the open from where you have still got an opportunity to scout your way a little bit forward. In the meantime, Tianba and Virtus Pro forced to take a fight. I mean, not forced to. Again, as I've said before, with this position, VP could easily, and other teams would easily, just say, you know what? We know that there's 2 guys over here. Let's just leave them. They're only 2 guys. They have to sit in there. But VP don't share. VP does not share, especially not if they can avoid it. So they go over. They say, you know what? We killed one of our teammates. We're going to make you pay. They take him out. Down they go. Smart play on the part of VP as well. We still have a lot of teams up towards the north that have to figure out what they want to do. And also with phase 4 coming up, we're going to shift away from certain things. And this is one of the only spots the circle could go to. Because this is a no-no. This is a no-no. This is a no-no. And this is a no-no. I guess there's actually a bit of that in. But this down here is a no-no. And if we look at these, oh, we have to draw them up again. If we draw this up there, 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 and there, where can the circle go without really hitting any of these? You would really love to watch my analysis liquid plays because we're discussing what's wrong with them. Well, I can't discuss a team that isn't here. I mean, we can discuss them, but I can't discuss the liquid plays when they're not playing the weekly finals because I'm not doing analysis streams for the weekly survival matches. But if they make it into the week 5 finals, I would love to. I mean, I would gladly talk about them. And I also have talked a lot about them in the other weekly finals I've covered that they have been playing in. So sure, I'll do liquid once they make it back into the weekly finals. But yeah, when we see this, there's only really one place you can go. And this is funny, right? Because in the last game, we talked about how, okay, all the teams know where the circle is going to go. So they're already going to set up shop. Like we saw over here. Whoops. Like we saw down here. The circle could only go north. Therefore, all the teams are already up here, sitting and waiting for it to happen. Now, we go, well, the circle has to go here, to some extent. But where the hell do we go? Because as I said before, even though the circle sweeps, like even though the circle send us up somewhere, it doesn't make that spot more playable. These dips that are here, these 2 in particular, you cannot really play with this still in because they will just be shooting at you all the time. So now that the circle pops, you can only really try and utilize those positions once you know that this team is gone. And what better team to go and take that position than the exact team that played there themselves? They know that the only threat to that dip, or those 2 dips, is the position they were in themselves. And they make great use of trying to make their way across. Them for, thanks a lot for this up. Much appreciated. So they make their way over. Genji realizes, great, that was the team from up here. Who's the main threat to this spot? It's the guys up here. Therefore, we're now safe to make the cross. Smart playing coming in there as well. Hey, and GRV with the sub as well. Thank you so much, guys. Truly appreciate it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. All the support that you guys give me on my, I guess you can say my private stream. That sounds weird, but on this stream, it means that I can do more of this type of stuff. So I'm glad that glad to see the support. Truly appreciate it. Much appreciated. Thank you. Infantry, they've crossed on over. They sat down on the south side. They have this road under control. And as I say that, they actually don't. They have this here under control. Because Sylphia is proning and chilling as best as he can. Now let's go back a little to see what happened to Enter Force 36. Because they were sitting on the hill. They were scouting forward. They saw all the chaos unfold over here. They lose Pure Boy in the middle of the open on the hillside. They send Sylphia across because they saw them run up. Smart play. Go out here, sit up here, try and scout your way further forward. Now, Sonics come in behind them. They lose one. Sylphia is out of position with no chance to help. All of a sudden, they have 2 players caught down there, and Sylphia has a dip. Just miscommunication or no communication in that situation. Or just a, like, unfortunate timed pull-up. But Sylphia is driving around trying to scout and get info while they lose Pure Boy. Or they lose Pure Boy. Sylphia starts scouting for info, and these two guys, Satu and Amonot, are not ready to really rotate on that information because the team pulls up. So just incredibly unfortunately timed, and it just seems like they're while sometimes they make really, really smart rotations, it just seems like they're not that well coordinated. Once other teams start encroaching, once things start getting a little hectic, they seem like they just kind of throw everything in the air and have a hard time catching it. Back to where we were before. Daytrade made their rotation across. Gen G does the exact same thing. Oath try to make their way outside of San Martin with the Freak of Freaks holding up against them. They know they're going to be coming in from that direction. Oath get a knock. Try to wrap up over the hilltop. Makes perfect sense. There's only really one spot Oath can go to. Once they see that Gen G is taking this spot, this wrap becomes impossible. Also because Multi-Circle Gaming is down here. And now Freak of Freaks are just sitting up top, holding them out. It's phase 5 blue now. It's going to hurt quite a bit. And here, the south side got interesting. Or the southwest, I should say. Because Daytrade gets flushed. Out they go. Gen G swamps in and kills them. As Gen G then wraps back, I was expecting Gen G to stick around here and look to hold out Multi-Circle Gaming. But with all the commotion here, I mean, Gen G is a third-party team. Gen G loves third-party opportunities. They get a chance to third-party Daytrade down here. They don't hold off against Multi-Circle Gaming. They just back off, wrap back towards this because they know this fight is escalating. So now they go back in this into this direction. But that allows for Multi-Circle Gaming to push over the hilltop. And once they realize, wait, we can actually get out from here, they managed to do that. I was surprised to see that after killing off Daytrade, them backing off so fast. They instantly run back instead of trying to stay on the hill and maybe take more control over Multi-Circle Gaming. Because they knew the compound was getting shifted out of. I just think they were worried. They were worried about a team wrapping this way. And then if they were in the middle of a fight with Multi-Circle Gaming, they would be the ones getting third-partied, right? So I think that's part of the reason why they went back. Maybe they wanted to run down and actually third-party the fight. But they go back, they stay in the backside dip, and they sit around here for a little while. I was just surprised to see that being the case. In the meantime, Virtus Pro up towards the north. Hiruzen gets pulled up on by DXG. And this was a really smart play as well. We caught it on camera while it was happening. Hiruzen, they come up, like they silent pull up on the compound. So they don't really have a chance to hear it before they're pretty much on the wall. They silent pull up. Hiruzen instantly goes out, takes a molly, throws it in the ground right behind him. That allows for him to run out in this direction while they're all like, well, there's fire here. As soon as he throws that molly and starts sprinting, Batulin is spamming smokes over here. Like really throwing a ton of smokes over in this direction. And that allows for both of them to cross over. It's just one of those extremely heads-up plays. Extremely well played by VP. And that's, again, as I've said before, I've said it a billion times, and I'm glad to say it again. Oftentimes, a really good disengage can be much, much better than forcing fights. VP could have easily taken the fight here against DXG. They were waiting for them. They had two guys up close. But they say, you know what? Nope, let's back off. Let's wait the next circle. Looking at this right now, there's a good chance that at some point DXG will have to cross. We'll take them or we'll deal with them there. Smart play by VP. Really, really, really smart by VP to make that cross. And Hyrusen's reaction on it too. I mean, both for Hyrusen and for Patulins to realize that they're coming in, to throw the molly, to run out, to throw the smokes, and allow them safe passage. It all happens within a matter of, I don't know, 3 seconds. That he gets the molly out, throws it down, starts sprinting, Patulins throws the smokes. They just knew what to do at the exact point where they had to. Exactly. They played it incredibly well. Very well orchestrated and orchestrated, organized by VP to make that disengage. Metagaming, they I think at this point they start to realize, holy moly, okay, so we have infantry down here. We have DA over here. If we stay here, this could become very, very bad. This could easily become very, very bad. So they opt to make the the disengage up instead, and that makes perfect sense to me. There's absolute, like, if you have a chance to avoid being the ham in an infantry and DA sandwich, even for Wicked and even for Meta, who are, I mean, a very good team, I don't think they want to be the ones sitting in between them. So they try to back off. They run a little bit up the hill. Makes perfect sense. It's getting too heated in there, so they back off. And hello, Sparrow. How are you doing today? I see you there. Top players. Oh yeah. I mean, they're all incredibly impressive. I learned so much even from just watching this. I learned so much from watching it. In the meantime, Gen G never really forced fights. Gen G forces third parties, but they never run into an engagement. If you notice how they play, Gen G will try and engage on teams that are either fighting another team or in the middle of a rotation. Every other time that you see Gen G, they're doing things similar to what we're seeing right here. Anonyx is slowly backtracking into the circle while making sure no one is pushing out this way. They know that this fight down here never really came to an end. There was no insta-kills on either Oath or Afrika Freeze. So Anonyx is slowly moving in with the blue and trying to make sure that no one's going to be able to wrap up this direction. In the meantime, PO is sitting in the center, looking around in all different directions, trying to figure out what's up, doing his PO things. And while that's all going on, because they know that they still have multi-circle gaming down here, Loki and Nesta are tasked with making sure that they don't try and push on them, because they still have those two dips that are, I would say, pretty valuable. So they try and make sure that multi-circle gaming cannot push them, and at the same time, they know that if MCG starts wrapping this way, they have their tripwires set up, right? As soon as they run out this way, they're seen by VP. So if all of a sudden VP starts shooting and you hear shots connect up on this hillside, that's when you know the multi-circle gaming opted to go this way. So the only threat Gen G has right now is two things. It's A, the push coming through here, and it's B, the push coming down here. And they're holding off both of it with 3 players. And because there's still 4 alive, they can use that 4th player to go great. Depending on where, like, while their tasks are pretty stationary. They're the turrets. They're the ones holding off. And in the meantime, PO can set out. I mean, he is the end-game leader. He can set up, try and see what he can scout forward so that in case the next circle... I mean, and it's not... When I say scout forward, it's not like, oh, let me take my 8X out and look 3 kilometers in that direction. Not because, I mean, he also does those things. But given the fact that the game is, what, like 400... Is it 400 meters? It's pretty close, Toby. Pretty close to 400 meters wide. Actually, it's more like 3. God damn it. I thought it was 4. Either way, given the fact that there aren't that much space left in this circle, what PO can do instead is try and decode. Because right now, I mean, they're hearing shots from everywhere. Shots are being fired all over the place. And right now, it's up to PO to kind of decode. Okay, so the shot's coming from over there. If I sync that up with what I'm seeing in the kill feed, that's got to be infantry. Okay, so we know infantry's on that side. We know that DA is on this side. Because keep in mind, Gen G the whole time has been down here on the south side. They've had absolutely no way of knowing, even though they've heard shots, all the commotion that's happened up here. They are only now starting to figure out who's who, right? So PO can sit a little closer, try and register the shots fired. Okay, so that's infantry. We heard, okay, that's DA. Okay, so VP's the team down in the compound. They can start figuring that stuff out now. And then according to what they've seen already, maybe they've seen VP lose a player, maybe they've seen this and that, they can put it all together and get them, like, paint a picture of what the end game looks like. Because they were one of the teams that came in late to the end game, right? So they're now trying to do that, and that's what PO is doing, while the other guys are maintaining control. The funny thing is, guys, I can pause a game of PUBG anywhere, because I don't think we've played this. Like, I don't think I've pressed play for the last 10 minutes. That's not true. More like 5. But we can pause, and I can literally talk PUBG for like a half hour. This here is a new discussion, because what just happened? Longsker just wrapped from up here, down here. Now he's trying to do the same thing that Anonix is doing, trying to make sure the push doesn't come through this way. So he's playing the buffer down here, trying to wrap in. There's so much we can do. There's so much we can talk about with every single move every single player makes, and that's what I love about PUBG. There's so much. There's so incredibly much to dive into when it comes to competitive PUBG. It's just a matter of registering the. Look at this, Longsker. He's up here. He's waiting for it. Toby doing Toby things. Thank you so much, Nada. 8 months. Damn. Thank you so much, buddy. That's the magic of the game. I agree. Yep. So this was fun. Yep. I mean, I said it while casting. If you remove, the only reason I saw Sylphia was there was because there was a big fat Interforce logo over his head, right? If there hadn't been a logo there, and he doesn't even have a ghillie suit on. If there hadn't been a logo there, I would not have seen Sylphia. Even when casting, even when the observers were like panning around, flying around, looking at the bush, I was like, there's no player there. There's no way that we see that guy. And I would love to hear from Boliang. I would love to, I mean, I don't know him personally, but I would love to meet him and ask him, did you actually see Sylphia? Because what happens is this, and it's coming now. He just runs him over. I honestly don't think he saw him. I don't think he saw him. I just think he drove the car up here because they know. I mean, he's not going to be driving. It's a steep hill here, right? So you're not just going to go boink and then up the hill. You're going to try and wrap your way this way. You know that you have DA over here. So you don't want to drive your car in this direction. That's just suicide. So you're trying to wrap the car around so you can maybe bring it up here for cover later on. He just brings it over to the bush, stops it here and goes, wait, I got a kill? I really don't think that he knew. I honestly don't think that he spotted him. And the funniest thing is, you could just, I mean, at first I thought Sylphia was looking the other way. So it was like, okay, he wasn't paying attention at the time. He got killed because of it. But you could just see Sylphia literally proning with a gun going, oh no, oh no, no, no. And you just know, I mean, you can't crawl to the side, then he spots you, then you're dead. The only thing you can do is sit there with your gun and hope that he stops the vehicle, for some reason starts turning the other way. It was like watching Tom Hanks in Saving Private Ryan when the tank comes over the hill and he just sits there with his pistol. Well, I'm screwed. That's Sylphia played chicken against the car, and I guess neither of them backed out. And Sylphia realized that in PUBG, even if could you imagine that? Could you imagine that if when you're prone in PUBG, and since it was a pickup truck, it is a pretty tall vehicle, you know. What if like if you had, not monster trucks, that's too wild, but if you had like Jeeps, like big Jeeps in this game, if you could prone and they could drive over you, you know? Maybe, Sparrow, maybe that's the thing we need, that you can prone underneath vehicles. Oh no, that would, just saying that. That's snaking at a whole other level. No, never mind, scratch that. Yep, no. Let's not have that in this game. I just hearing myself say that was that's not it. That's also a good argument. Okay, so infantry, they get a free kill. They realize that, okay, so this fight never really came to an end. Now it did, but there's nowhere we can go up here. There's nowhere for us to push. We need to take the fight to DA. They try to back off. They try to continue wrapping this way, and DA go, we don't have time for this. They are forced down this way, take the fight against two teams who don't have to move yet, or they take the fight to infantry, and they opt to do that instead. Makes perfect sense. DA plays this one incredibly well, but unfortunately for them, Meta have something to say about it. They come out, they do damage. Now DA, they get the kills on some, they back off again. Gen G goes, well, we have to do something. And again, surprised to see them not up to take the fight with Multi-Circle Gaming. They know, peek over the side, take the fight down the hill to MCG. With the circle being here, you can get the kills, you can wrap in this way. You know there's one inside, because I just heard him rotate in. Why are they up to go play the north side of the circle instead is surprising to me. Because they know, I think the reason they do it is because they see this knock, and then they realize, great, the fight has escalated once more. Because at first, the knock came in, but this all happened while they had just finished fighting a freak of freaks, so they had to heal up and stuff. PO pushes forward, doesn't have the info that he needs, and now they have a chance to make a play. PO ends up going down, they need to make a move, they go back, they take the cars, one more knock comes in, and that's the call. I was still surprised to see them not trying to make the move on to Multi-Circle Gaming earlier, but they opt to go the other way, take the fight to infantry, and they end up paying paying the price for it. And this one was surprising as well, because even though DA loses Smash and lose one more, they were still 3 alive. They had this side of the circle, but I was very surprised to see VPM. We didn't really see it during the game, so I'm taking for granted that there was a smoke line here. Either that, or that DXG had somehow, I mean, they can't throw them that far, but that they had thrown smokes over to block off the vision from VP. Because they made this cross without any damage really being done towards them. But you can see Batulin's wrapping out there. That's got to be smokes. That's got to be smokes. The way that he wraps out, he's outside the house now, looking for an angle. That's got to be them trying to smoke off the path. And because only 1 or 2 bullets were fired this entire crossing, and obviously DA is currently in the middle of fighting up the hill, they had no way of knowing, like no way of expecting this to be the case. I think they were expecting, the reason they sit as aggressive on this side of the circle as they do, is because they anticipated Virtus Pro and DXG to take the fight to one another. So they come here, they go, oh, that's great, we still have these 2 guys down here, now we just have to worry about Multi-Circle Gaming. Easy peasy. And while they're running back, they get picked apart. I mean, they were practically running back towards the south side without their guns out. They were, it seemed so anyway, that confident that these guys were all down here. But that wasn't the case. They get wiped in seconds. Multi-Circle Gaming have a chance to split out. I like how Long played down, went back down towards the bottom of the hill to try and take control and make sure that they couldn't wrap out this way. And VP just chill. They wait. They know the circle is gonna, the game is gonna end in the open. Here's the dot just below. And this end game, we can't really do it justice by just analyzing it off of this. And actually, ooh, maybe Sparrow, if you're still here, maybe you know, because I haven't actually been sure. I don't know what the rules are in this regard. But am I allowed to, when we do these analysis streams, I just wanted to be safe rather than sorry the other times that I've streamed. Am I allowed to go into the VODs and show stuff there as well? Because I was thinking, I mean, if it's just me on stream or if it's other stream stuff, maybe that doesn't matter. But because I'm uploading this to YouTube as well, it would technically be like for my content. And that's where I guess the gray zone was. Because I don't know. If since I'm uploading it to YouTube as well, it would be, although, I mean, we're talking 0.001 cent. Because I think my views, like videos get like 100 or 200 viewers. But it would technically be me making money off of PUBG's content on like YouTube ads and stuff like that. That's why I was wondering if I need like some sort of written permission to include it. I don't know what the rules are, and that's why I wanted to make sure before I did any of it. But yes, I mean, in short, this was, at first, Tank doesn't have a helmet. They've just killed off 3 DXG players, 2 of which still had helmets. I like Evil Lee's position. He's the one trying to make sure they can't wrap. They know that at some point they have to push down. The thing is, they also know that VP have to push first. They throw the mollies down, they throw the smokes down to try and prevent them from going out. So far, so good. Can't really complain about that whatsoever. Evil Lee, still positioned on the side, tries to wrap further in. And while here it looks like this is where the ridge is, it's more like that kind of. Issue now becomes that after Hiruzen gets rest, he starts landing absolute banger shots. Tank, again, doesn't have a helmet. Like, the heat of the moment, you can't really blame him for not picking up a helmet. But there was a knocked player, like 2 meters behind him with a helmet on it. that he didn't pick up. So Hiruzen knocks one at the exact same time. Batulins, I believe it was Batulins, right? Finds one as well. That's Tank going down. Now, why did he get knocked? Because he got headshot without a helmet on. All of a sudden, it's a 3v2 in favor for VP. Now, Multi-Circle Gaming still has the better position, no doubt about it. They have the uphill, and VP now have to start sprinting out through their own smokes. Lingdu finds one. Batulins, really good spray on towards him. Can't find him initially. Does manage to do so in the end. But as in response to that, Summer picks one off as well. And when Summer gets the knock onto Spiro, he has 3 bullets left. Not just like 3 bullets, oh, you just gotta reload, and then you're fine. But he has 3 bullets left in total. So he has to sprint down to Evil Lee, get the ammo. I mean, it's so fortunate. It's so fortunate that it happens the way that it does here. He has to sprint down to Evil Lee, get the ammo from him, and then run back and take the fight. In the meantime, Batulins is, of course, trying to wrap back up this way, trying to take control. The Multi-Circle Gaming players are just crawling down, trying to go, he's here, he's here, he's here. Trying to pinpoint it for him, and in the end, Summer does get the kill onto Batulins. But they almost lost that one, and had they done so, whew, that would have been... I mean, the first shot from Hiruzen. I like the initial play from Multi-Circle Gaming. Throw the mollies, and you know there's only so many spots they can be in. They throw smokes down the hill as well to prevent them from being able to peek up, just forcing them to play without info for as long as they can. Smart play by Multi-Circle Gaming. Then Hiruzen hits the insanely quick headshot onto Evil Lee. Instantly after, Tank goes down. Should have had a helmet. Maybe would have survived. I was looking at this when we were casting it as well and thinking there's no way Multi-Circle Gaming loses this game. And they didn't. But as much as I wanted to say that it was an MCG throw, VP just also lands a lot of really good shots in that fight. Yes, Tank should have had a helmet. He had a chance to pick one up and he didn't. Evil Lee gets shot at by 2 players at the exact same time. They know where he is. You can kind of see it when they connect on him to begin with. Evil Lee comes in. Hiruzen gets rest. As soon as Spiro spots him, he gives the info to Batulins, I believe. And they both go, boom. Okay, you couldn't see that. God damn it. Where is the damage? There you go. 1 through, 2nd through, over the top. Not a whole lot he can do about it. So I can't really make up my mind. I can't really make up my mind on whether it was Multi-Circle Gaming throwing. I mean, again, you can't really throw it when you won. But Multi-Circle Gaming making it much closer than it should have been. I guess the only thought is that Multi-Circle Gaming didn't need to push, like, over-aggress down the hill. They could just have waited for them to push up the hill. I don't know. I mean, Wookie, if you're still here, you called it big throws. And I want to agree with you. But what do you think? I want to hear from you, Woogie, if you are interested in sharing your thoughts, of course. What should they have done differently, other than Tank getting a helmet, of course? What should they have done differently in that fight to make it an easier win for themselves? Because the plays that they made with the smokes, with the mollies, trying to isolate VP down inside the house, I thought that made perfect sense. So maybe just after that happens, just don't peek until the full house is out. Like, don't get a player knocked before the entire building is out. Is that the play? Wait for them until this, and now you peek 4v3? Wait for the building to be out before you start peeking? That could have been it, I guess. I'm curious to hear your thought, though. If you feel like sharing it, of course. That is no pressure whatsoever. That was game number 2. Oh, damn, we're spending a lot of time on these games today. Very in-depth on the analysis. I like it. I like it. I like it. Let's hop over to game number 3 of the day. Also, YouTube, I'm not 100% sure, but as long as you keep all broadcast ads in, it should be fine. You're basically at a... Okay. So I didn't want to do it because I didn't know what the rules were. So I would rather be on the safe side. Maybe what I should do is reach out on email or something and get like a written confirmation. Just so you know, so I'm in the clear. I like to be in the clear. Which skins you get with your infinite EP? My infinite EP. I did get some pretty good guesses this time around. And I don't know yet. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But for now, what we will do is that we'll hop in to game number 3. Just so this video doesn't end up being like a 5-hour video. Circle Pups. Anything out of the ordinary? We always ask the same question. Start off a new game. Is there anything here out of the ordinary? And ooh, this I didn't see when we were casting, I think. Did I see it? I noticed Gen G going southwest on day 2. I don't know if I spotted them on day 1. He wrote how the game. Yeah, I'm actually, they call me the PUBG, what do you even call that? Not writer. Damn it. When you try to make a joke and you can't even speak English. I failed. They don't call me anything. I'm just a noob. But yeah, nothing really out of the ordinary here. At least not right off the bat. Virtus Pro takes school and apps. Easy peasy. TSM ain't here. STK ain't here. 4AM ain't here. Plenty of space for them to wrap in towards the center. What do I think of center versus edge looting positions on Erangel? Honest answer? It doesn't matter where you loot. We see so many weird shifts anyway these days. So many edge shifts, so many hard shifts. Loot center if you like to play center. Loot edge if you like to play edge. That's really pub Jesus. Morbid. That's terrible. That is terrible. That's a dad joke right there. I honestly think with the loot amount being the way that it is and the circles literally going all over the place these days, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you loot. And I think teams, that's why you see teams are like constantly changing up their loot spots too. I really don't think it matters all that much where you loot. The only thing that it does matter according to is of course how you like to play. So if you're full on committed Sarky looting team, which I don't think we have anyone that are, but let's say you only want to loot Sarky every single game. Fair enough, you do that. But if you want to be the Sarky looting team and also the team that always goes and plays from the center of the circle, that might be a little difficult when you have these planes or these planes. Or this is another type of plane that we also have. That's when Toby is the pilot. The plane goes like that. But you know, I mean, when we have, yeah, loot according to how you like to where you like to play. I don't think there's a better or worse when it comes to looting on Erangel or Miramar for that sake. Loot according to what your play style as a team is. That's really it. Yes, Origin. So what they do is they make a phone call. They have this phone call with all the in-game leaders before the game starts. That's why we have 15-minute delays between every game. They make this phone call where they all flip a coin, and then if it's Virtus Pro, they go, "Oh, we won. We want school. No one can go there." And then they go, "Okay, great. Next team." They flip a coin again, and then they go, "Okay, so Virtus Pro has decided where they want to go. Now DA, where do you want to go?" And then they make another coin flip, and then they decide that way. That's not true. That's not true. There's no rules. No. Oh yeah, they only want the J compound. That's true. This is DA. Everything else they get is just what they do. There's no rules. There's no rules for anything for where they loot. You can do whatever you want. Even though Sonics is now the Pachinki team, Virtus Pro, DA, Multicircle Gaming, Tiamba, T1, they could all just go into Pachinki with them and mess things up. I know, Origin. I know. I was just kidding with you. But no, there are no rules. Some people argue that there is like a gentleman's agreement thing, but no, there really isn't. The thing is, I mean, you might make enemies. You might make enemies by jumping on top of each other. So if you keep jumping on a team to mess with them, we've seen that from infantry, right? Infantry, they will jump on anyone that they don't like. So they'll, if day trade goes down towards Fairy Pier or DXG for that sake, they'll just hot drop them in Fairy Pier, so get the hell out of here. That could happen. So you might not be liked by the team that you hot drop, but that makes pretty good sense, I think. Because again, I said this in the last video and I'll gladly say it again. I don't want to spend too much time going over it, because we kind of already have, but on Erangel, and on Miramar even more so, but on Erangel as well, because the loot is as good as it is, when we're only 16 teams, had we been 18, 20, 24 teams, like had we been 80 players, that could have been a different story. But because we're only 16 teams, it requires this plane path in order for teams not being able to go where they want without having to fight each other. There is so much space on Erangel, and so many trash split loot spots you can go to that might not be the thing you like, or it might not be where you've practiced all your rotations from, but you can always, if you don't care about where you land, you can always find a place to loot where you aren't being contested. And if not, then you're either being very, not egoistic, but I guess stubborn, or absurdly unlucky. Let's say the plane path goes the way that we saw it go now, north to south, and when you get down here, you go, okay, great, so let's just go Prim. Screw it, let's just go to Prim. Doesn't matter. Then you go Prim, and another team jumps with you to Prim. You just go up here. You loot that. You loot these. You loot that. You loot this. You have a hard spawn right there. You take that, you drive away. You have a hard spawn up here. You take that, you drive away. There's always space. There's always space to get looted up. So no. To answer your question, no rules about where teams jump. You can do whatever you want. And the circle does whatever it wants too. At least until phase 4. So up towards the north we go. And again, said this a billion times, saying it again, when you have this water in play, when it's around the center of the circle, teams like to play close to the river, obviously not in the river, but close to the river, but still in a position from where they can maintain control on both sides, or at least have somewhat of an anchor point. So because you're sitting here, you don't necessarily have to have a player here as well, because you can kind of see that it's free, so that if the circle goes north, make the play on over. Or if you go up here, you don't have to have a player over here, because you can kind of see if it's free, you can make the play across afterwards, or here to there, whatever, you name it. Many opportunities for teams to make plays there. Am I casting the stream you get in real time, and is the stream you see while... okay. Are you casting the stream you get in real time, and is the stream you see while casting already delayed? So what happens is that the games are being played in Korea. And for the sake of integrity, and I guess, and technical aspects, and also because of their teams playing at home, what is being broadcasted has a 10-minute delay from it happens on stage. So it happens on stage, 10 minutes later, you can see it, right? So the Korean feed, they obviously sit in Korea. I mean, the Korean commentators are, I believe, in the studio or close to the studio. The analyst desk, I know, is by the studio. So the Korean feed is from there. They do their stuff with the 10-minute delay that they've set up. With that feed, they sent that feed to Europe so that the European production team can then distribute that to the English-speaking PUBG viewers. So we have a small delay. That's also why there's a bit of a delay between the Korean and the English stream, is because the Korean stream sends it with a direct 10-minute delay. But what the English stream is the Korean feed, because the servers are the same, right? What we're shown in-game is the same. So the Korean feed is, while it's being sent out to Twitch, it's also being sent to the production in Europe. And then from here, we send out that stream, obviously with English commentators and stuff like that. And yes, that's also why the map, it's not fucked up. It's just, that's the delay between sending all the stuff from Korea to Europe to Twitch. We don't have instant, that's why ping exists as well. So it's possible. Yeah, I mean, you could make an argument that the map stream should be synced with the EU broadcast and not the Korean broadcast, but that will require the I mean, it's a technical aspect that I don't even care to go into right now because that is not going to happen anyway. But yes, that's essentially how it works. So we cast it live when you see it. There's no delay. Like if I talk and say woohoo, that is you hearing me say woohoo. It's not like I say woohoo and then you hear it 10 minutes later. When I talk, you hear it just like now. Maybe there's like a 3 or 4 second delay for production stuff, but other than that, it's pretty much instant. No worries. Normally, it would be the other way around, right? So normally we would have it so that the delay with us casting is delayed. So I would say something, and then the game would actually have ended by the time it happens for you and when we watch it. But yeah, this time around works the other way. It was synced last time. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have anything to do with the map stream. We have a private feed that we get that is synced with our casting, or that we can sync with our casting. So is what is. Is what is. Now let's see. Let's move forward. Let's watch DA run each other over. And get rest again. There you go. Good job, Matt. Enterforce 36 pulls up on multi-circle gaming. I had my question marks, but they do that. And this was just when I was talking about Enterforce 36 being passive and not ever aggressing. And they I'm not sure if, I mean, I guess they called the bluff. Enterforce 36, what they like to do, and that's kind of been the math that I've, at least read on them, is that they play center aggressive early so that they can play passive until late. They did the exact same thing back on the Miramar game earlier, where they just sneaky snake their way through everyone in towards the middle. And right now, I mean, if we do the coordinate system thingy, there you go. The center is these compounds here. And they realize that, well, it's phase 1. There's a pretty big chance that we don't have a 4-man team up here. There's also a pretty big chance that there ain't even anyone here. So they pull up on the compound. And now they overcommit to it. They take the full engagement, and they're forced to take the fight. A lot of things happened during this fight that worked out extremely well for multi-circle gaming. One thing being that Evil-E, again, really wise reaction, runs upstairs, mollies off the staircase, jumps out on the balcony, hops over on the other side. By him isolating Enterforce 36 to this side, should they have to rotate, they can now make their way out this way without them seeing it. They still have Link Do on the hill. He can scout forward. They do have DA down here, of course. That's the team they have to worry about. But for the most part, with them having split this now into 2, they can disengage out this way without issue. And Link Do can sit up here, and in case they're trying to make a run this way, he can get the info across. So smart disengage by Multi-Circle Gaming, where if he had still been stuck in here, Evil-E, it could have been more troublesome for them because they would have to try and get him out somehow, right? Smart playing by Multi-Circle Gaming in that situation. Petrichor coming in from the north. Navi comes in north around as well. Day Trade comes from the south. DXG from the south. A lot of teams coming in late in this circle, as you can see. Oath, super duper late, but they don't care. That's fine with them. They're not in a hurry. It's only phase 1. It's all good. T1, but you can kind of see what I'm talking about now, right? Where we have a team sitting here. They're looking over in this direction mainly right now. You have Lorena and Mings. They're looking over in this direction. Infantry have somebody looking over in this direction. Everybody is, to some extent, playing with a cross opportunity in mind. Lu, looking over in this direction. Meta, looking over in this direction. Everyone is, other than, of course, the teams that are far up here, or far down towards the south. Everyone is playing with a, if we have to cross, where can we cross in mind. So they play close to the water without actually playing in the water. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. Gandalf, that's toxic. And then this happens. Oath got the circle. I read on Twitter people complaining that Oath never got circles. That's a good shift for Oath. They shouldn't be complaining about that one at all. Just full speed send it into the middle. Which is exactly what ends up happening. They end up losing 1. Meta ends up losing 1. Oath gets school. And now everyone else is forced to move down towards the south. This shift, let's just take a sec to break it down, is incredibly difficult for so many teams. What do we have right now? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 teams on the south side. 5 if you count this meta split as well. 4.5, let's say 4.5 teams in the south. We've only lost 2 players so far. So 4.5 players in the south, and the remaining 11.5 teams on the north side. Obviously, I mean, if you look at this, quite a bit more landmass up towards that north and down towards the south. So when we see this circle shift happening, all of a sudden, 11.5 team have to make a rotation. You can't just go like this. I mean, technically you can, but that will require you swimming as well. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bridges available inside the circle. We have 2 bridges, 3, if you rotate here. Bridges available outside the circle for you to make your crossing into the circle. But where the hell do you go? This whole field is not very fun to sit in the early game. You can be forced to do it, but it's not the greatest place to be. There are the hills that you can play. There are the little, some call it waves, because it kind of looks like waves down here. You have the small dips below the Rossock Hill up here. But other than that, it's really tricky to play the open. It kind of looks like a whale. No mind. No more animal drawings on Erangel. We already have the cat and the big bunny and all that stuff. No whales. We don't need whales. But you have ruins. You have Watertown. Neither of which are really all that amazing to be in. In Picasso, yeah, that was Picasso with like the eyes being all next to each other. Rossock, playable, obviously, but still not the best city to have to be playing in. And then you have the compounds on the south side and the yellows, which are arguably the better position to be in. The only thing is, this is only phase 2. This is only phase 2. Phase 3, if we pick a circle, this circle right here can still go anywhere. This is phase 3. It can still easily go up towards the north. It could center in the water, like on this island. It can go down towards the south. It can go anywhere. So if you hard commit into the field, if you lose your vehicles now, that's the main thing. If you lose your vehicles now and the circle then shifts away from you, you're pretty much screwed. So one of the main components to surviving this circle is not only, of course, do you hope that you end up on the correct side of where the circle is going to go, but you also really, really, really want to keep your vehicles intact. It's an ambitious 4-way split. I mean, I love this. There's no one down here, and they know it. They know for a fact that there's no one down here. I think it's a great split they're setting up right now. It's greedy, but they're a greedy team. They continue trying to play accordingly. Now they go down, and they're trying to maintain this 2-way split. And this 2-way split works. It works for the first 30 seconds of this circle until all these 11 teams have made their way down here. And then it doesn't work anymore. Because you're in a position from where you can't cover each other. There's hills in between. You're in a position from where one thing is you can't cover. The other thing is if one of these, like either this or this, gets pulled up on, the other team can't rotate fast enough. And even more so, if there's a team in between you, we talked about this waves area here that some people call it, that can easily block off your opportunity to cross. If there's a team sitting here, it can become incredibly difficult to make that transition over or to try and get back this way. So very difficult 2-way split to maintain. Or dangerous, I should say. Dangerous 2-way split to try and maintain. But for now, it's working out, even with a team in between them. Teams find their way in towards the circle. We don't really take any casualties on this shift, although we do see a pretty big shift in teams. And then we get this one, and me and Sims, I think our reactions were very similar. You know what? Actually. Oh wait, that's not it. Just listen. In the opposite direction of what we expected it to. Now let's see where this one is going. That was our reaction. Laughs and Sims just going. It was too quiet. Or you couldn't hear anything. Oh well. Either way, that's how it was. Me laughing and Sims just full on face palming. That's essentially the reaction to this circle shift. No one enjoyed it. I mean, we thought it was fun, but we also knew it was we also knew it wasn't very good. So this circle happens. We still have plenty of water in, and before I said there isn't a whole lot you can play. That whole lot has just been narrowed down to even less. Watertown and Ruins are now pretty much becoming mandatory for you to try and play. And the thing is, we can draw this up. We can take phase 4 and put it places. But how do you know? Like, is this, when it widens out like this, is this less water than this would be? Where is the least amount of water? And also something else. Sparrow, are you still here? I need to ask you a question that I have been wanting to ask for a long time. East, southeast. Yeah, I would think so here as well. There's one thing that I've always wondered, that I've never had a yes or no answer to. I've heard speculations and stuff like that, like with so many other things, but I've never had a clear yes or no answer. When the circle shifts away from water, does it do it in 2 or 3 dimensions? Because the thing is, you can have areas of the water that are narrow, but if this area, like technically there's more water here, right? But if this area is just, now we're just hypothetically, if this area is 5 meters deep and this is only 2, then there might actually be more water here than there is over here, even though it's wider. You know what I mean? So I'm curious if it shifts away from water in 2D, as in if it's wider, then there's more water, like only from top looking down, or if it shifts away from water in volume. That's something I've never had answered before, and I honestly don't know the answer to the question, but I really would love to know, because then, I mean, even though this might be a different story, there might be areas of the map where, even though it's not that wide, it's more deep and more shallow in different spots and stuff like that. So as soon as you start including just a tiny bit of this stuff, you could have so much beach on another. I mean, I can't really come up with an example right now, but I would love to see. I would love to have that question answered in terms of whether it's, yeah, as you say, if it's surface or volume. Because I honestly don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if they know, but yeah. Everyone starts trying to send it full speed in. I mean, again, limited where you can play. Right now, if we just look at the numbers, not everyone, but most teams are banking on this one going here. But I gotta say, I mean, even in the heat of the moment, in the heat of the game, even players, they must have had a hard time trying to figure, because there's still that world where it goes up here. This out here does have a pretty big portion of land mass in. Does this count as water? I don't know. Does water count when you aren't swimming? That's another thing that I've never had confirmed from anyone. So technically, this is not water because you can still stand in it. It's only water once you're swimming. Is that the case? Or is all water water, which means that the little bit of water there is in Mansion River here as well is also water? Or is it not water because it's not on the map? Also, what is this? So many questions. So many questions. Maybe if you're watching on YouTube or on Twitch, for that sake, you can let me know, because I honestly don't know. It's things that I would love to know, but I really don't. It's land ratio, not anti-water. but the land ratio is also... The land ratio is determined by the least amount of water, right? Maybe you answered it there, mister. Oh, yeah. We're shifting to include land, not to exclude water. So technically, it doesn't matter how deep it is, because it's not about the amount of water, it's about the amount of land. That's a good answer. I like that answer. Even I didn't. I mean, I knew, but I never looked at it that way. Mystery solved. Mystery may be solved. Again, as that you know what, I'm gonna go with that from now on. It makes perfect sense when we put it that way. But still, I would still love to hear it. I would still love to hear it from a PUBG Corp person. Just the in-depth aspect or like explanation of how it works. A Freak of Freaks sitting on the south side. They go, well, that was a sad circle. It didn't shift towards the south that we thought it was. And they have to try and see if they can make their way through. One gets popped midair. The rest of them try to go into the city, and only Hansia survives, and that's just temporarily. In the meantime, Genji and Oath, with PO doing his PO things, are starting their rotation forward. This would end up being a pretty high kill game for Genji. So they spot Oath over the hillside. They PO gets seen as well. They pull up. They do the full-on drive-by YOLO engagement, and then this surprised me a little because Orange is up on the hill. He hears all this action, and I think he falls back once he realizes that he wasn't fast enough. Now, all the flushes has come through. He's still not up at an angle from where he can see them yet, and he gets called back to the compound. Hansia just got here. There's a threat that maybe more people are going to be coming in from the north, and if he's playing up here, there are different spots that could maybe get eyes on him when he has his back exposed to the entire city, right? Also just the fact that Hansia is up there. Maybe actually it could be that Hansia shot at him. We just couldn't see at the time to force him back down the hill. Maybe Petrichor were shooting towards him as well. So he falls back instead of trying to third party towards Genji. Makes pretty good sense. Tiamba, in the meantime, they full speed forward into multi-circle gaming. That's ended up being a slaughter. I mean, it really is limited what we can do in terms of analysis of these complete chaos games. DA, they sit tight in the dip, and PO realizes this. He comes over because he hears Starlord come forward. They now know, PO, that is, that there are players, DA, inside this dip. And he goes, Esther, come with me for a sec. He goes like, pss, 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 talks down to Esther. Come with me. He waves him this way. Come, this way. I have something I want to show you. Now, if you take your nade out, can I have one? Oh, thank you. Sharing nades there? Thank you. Follow me. I have something I want to show you. They go over, and they go bada bing, bada boom. That's a magic trick. The magic trick is, you want to see how fast you can kill DA? That's how fast it goes. Smart playing. PO, over the top, registers that they're down there, goes to Esther, goes, I don't have a nade. Can you give me one? Sure thing, boss. Gives him a nade. They go over, they throw two, they get 3 knocks. They get, I believe Esther kills the last one with this gun, and that's them eliminated. Pretty smart play. Very heads up in the heat of the moment, not to peek over and start shooting, but PO, always being a smart man, makes a wise decision that ends up keeping them alive for a pretty good amount of time. Virtus Pro in the meantime, going Virtus Prone, forced to play the Shack. People were confused by this move as well, and I don't want to say I was confused, but I was a little surprised to see them give up the edge of Rozhok to go play 4 in a Shack. They're currently sitting in a 2-1-1 split inside Rozhok, and they full speed send it 4 people into a Shack instead. Now, my theory on it is that they know that if they have to leave Rozhok eventually, keep in mind now, this is the shift, like this circle right here is the circle that goes on land, right? So the next one could easily just go straight back out there. If they have to leave Rozhok, they're going to be edge bullied by everyone. Like, teams are going to start peeking over this ridge, and shoot towards them. They have teams inside the city they will have to deal with. They will have teams over the top that's shooting at them. These guys over here will be shooting at them. And once you're leaving the city, there's really nowhere you can stop before you get over here. Like, that's what we see in the end of this game, because the game does end in this area. This is just a big, open, nasty field. And as long as these hills are in, as long as the south side positions are in, there's just nothing you can play out here. So I think VP, they want to get rid of having to cross this when there's everyone looking that way, to then go out and do it now. Batulin spots it, goes over, claims it. Navi, smart reaction, instantly goes down and takes over afterwards. And that's one portion of it. The other portion is, as we see right here, they were probably expecting a lot of teams to crash into Rostock, and they didn't want to have to sit in a city fight, especially if it gets shifted out at some point, right? So while I could easily make an argument for them to stay inside the city, maybe just two split buildings, it also does kind of make sense for them to leave. Only Circle 4 aims at land. Circle 4 and Circle 8 them. But it's very rare these days that we have a Circle 7 that has water in it. But Circle 8 and Circle 4, yes. This one goes up towards the north. We now have seven teams that have to make their way into the circle. And again, it's one of those, where the hell do you go? They trade infantry, Sonics, and, well, Adder. He's on his own. He's going to die in a second. Where do you go from here? Gen G, they can try and make their way down here, maybe. Maybe they can try and go play the dip. But the thing is, they will have to expose themselves on the other side. And that's going to be tricky. So down towards the compound you go. Not really a whole lot of other stuff that you can do. Loki gets them a building. So they're going to sit tight there for now. They trade, want to wrap around into the water. DXG has done the same thing from the north side of the circle. Zhao Yang tries to sneaky snake his way forward. He ends up going down. And the circle just gets worse and worse. We're forcing now the entire city out. Everyone's going to have to make their way into the open. Enter Force 36 have a position in the compound, or in the on the high ground here, from where, again, Enter Force. It makes sense. You're 4 inside the circle. You want to sit tight, but I think they have 3 kills this game. They were playing in the open. They had the entire hill. They could have pushed 1 inside. They had all of this under control. They realized that this is free. Why not just maybe sit like 2 here, 1 out here? Or 1, 1, 1. They have they have an opportunity to take so much control. They hear Mill and Mammoth drive down to the south. That's what gives them the read that they can then push up and take this. Why not take more control? Why not position yourself so that you can contain and hold out people? By just sitting inside, I mean, not, and obviously you can see them moving around, so they're not just sitting still, but by staying the way that they are inside the compound, instead of trying to maintain, like, go out and take some control, they just allow for everyone to push up right next to them. And that's what happens time and time and time and time and time again, when they don't obviously fight in the very early game, is that they just allow for too many people to take what they want around them. It's, I don't know, Interforce. They confuse me a little. Oh, now we're talking about Tianba. Can you do the team communication segments from now on? What does that mean? Is it worth, in your opinion, to charge for a house at this point and die in the way? Well, I mean, if you can get there. If the alternative is that you die to blue, you might as well try and see if you can get yourself a compound instead. If you're 1 player left alive, maybe not so much. But if you're still 4, then sure. I would pretty much always want to go for buildings like that instead. Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Interforce 36. They make wise rotations. They make smart moves. They made a really smart move to get to this spot, but it's once they get there, they just don't seem to know what to do with it. And I really don't like, I mean, people can come after me and go, but Toby, you're not even a player yourself. You don't know what you're talking about. And sure, I'm not a competitive player. I haven't played on a stage for $720,000. I will gladly admit that. But I feel like I've seen enough games and I know enough PUBG to know that the way that Interforce plays in a global tournament, because while this might work in Japan, it just doesn't work here. And it's the same things over and over again. They get themselves, now we're not in placement points yet, but they get themselves into positions, because this is a really good spot to be in right now. They're the only team, literally the only team, with the exception of Ixleft, inside the circle right now. They have a chance to spread out, take control. It's about, to me, it's similar to what we saw with Navi and Miramar earlier. It's about always having that fire escape. Always having a backdoor you can leave out should things go bad. And when you isolate yourself, when you put yourself in a position where this is our final stand, we stay here until we die, and you don't have that exit opportunity, oftentimes you end up going down. Because the only thing you then rely on is whoever comes our way, we have to kill them. We will best them mechanically. And this is not to be rude to Interforce 36, but at least from what I've seen, from what I have seen players do, there are teams, and I think we can argue that there are quite a few teams in this tournament that have better raw mechanical aim, at least than what we've seen from the Interforce 36 players so far in the tournament. So it just surprises me, because it happens so many times. I've seen it so many times now, where they rotate wisely, they play the early and mid game super well, and then once they get to the mid to late game, they just, as I said before, they just don't seem to know what to do with it. And it's unfortunate. That being said, if they could fix that, if they dared to try and take more control in the mid to late game, if they went out and did that, we have seen them have some sick sprays. Satu and Amonot have had some really, really good shots. It's a small thing. Like, if you have control over your entire early and mid game portion of the game, or like your teamwork, if they can work on that and if they can fix that, that's going to be an incredibly terrifying team. Because they play early game better than some of the teams that are really good in this tournament. And yeah, allowing for Navi to get all the way up on this ridge, it's just a big mistake. It should never have happened. They should have taken more control. It ends up not happening. Now they have to move out. Now Navi, because Navi do what Navi does, play underneath, take control, have one play contain, have the other guys look for a place to go afterwards. That's exactly how we want to play it. This is how E36 should have been sitting. Contain, contain, contain. But no. Enough E36 talk for now. There are other teams that play similar to E36, and I think we see why they don't find the success that they probably want to. Petrichor, plenty of space. Navi try to wrap in. Navi played the end game here pretty well. Not a whole lot they can do. Best luck gets naded behind the rock. Down they go. Petrichor get themselves the win. Did any region surprise me so far in a good or bad way? No. Kinda. I wasn't expecting the aggression that we've seen from Thailand in particular. I wasn't expecting that aggression to work so well going up against these teams. And again, it's, I mean, people can be upset at me for saying, if you're a viewer from Thailand, that's all right. That's all right, of course it is. But you can disagree with me. But I would still argue that in term, I'm not talking about individual teams here. I'm talking about the bigger picture, right? So if we compare regions, not because there's one good team here and two good teams there and five good teams there. It's just if you compare regions overall, the overall skill level, I would say, in regions like Europe, China, Korea, is higher than the overall skill level in a region like Thailand. So when you see a team like Buriram, like Divine to some extent, like Day Trade, when they can go out and get, and also Divine is Vietnamese, so just SEA in general, when they can go out and get billion kills in their own region, you go, oh, that's pretty impressive. But could they do that? Could they do that? against some of the best in the world. Is the opposition that they're up against, are their enemies as good when they get those high kill games in SEA? Are they as good as what they're going to go up against now? And for the most part, I would say no. So seeing them being able to continue to play like that and have the same success for the most part, I think that's really impressive. That's something that has impressed me for sure. Both for, I mean, Meta I knew were good. Meta I never doubted. We've seen LATAM, they have some sick mechanical players, and they have gotten much, much better over the last year and a half on their macro play, like their rotations and stuff. They've gotten much, much better over the course of the last half year, or year and a half, I should say, on that regard. So no, I mean, SEA is probably the region that has surprised me the most. Positively, that is, positively. I hope that answered your question. What game are we on? It's on the right side of your screen. It's there. You can see it. Now it's game 4. I think, anyway. Unless if I've made a mistake. Yeah, it is game 4. No worries. No worries. Do I have a favorite team? No. And I'm not rooting for anyone either. I'm rooting for good PUBG. I know it sounds boring, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of any team. I can like teams. I mean, I like many teams for different things. I like Virtus Pro for the way that they play and the kind of the role that Batulins fills in that team and the way the other guys play around him. I like Meta for for Ragnar and him always being happy, and also, I mean, a lot of the stuff that they do. I like Infantry for their aggression. I like Na'Vi for the style they put to use and have kind of made famous in Edge, and then like center heavy rotation play late in the game. There are many different, like many teams that I like for many different reasons. So no, I don't have any one team in particular that I'm a fan of or supporting extra when these games go on. I'm not even one of those guys. I mean, I know some of the NA casters, they will say, woohoo, NA. And some of the Korean casters will go, woohoo, Korea. But that's different, right? Because even though, now I said this, even though if we were in a tournament where there was a Danish team, I'm from Denmark, for those of you guys who don't know, if there was a tournament where there was a Danish team, because, I mean, NA is, I don't know, okay, so Canada and NA is a little different, and but it's, most of the regions are one country, or some of them anyway. When you have Korea or Japan or China, it's one country, right? Then it makes more sense that a caster would have somewhat of a bias towards his own country. But I don't feel like I'm European, I have to support everything that is in Europe. That's a lot to support. There's a lot of things in Europe that I'm not necessarily a support of. So no, I don't feel like I'm particularly European in my casting. I feel like I know quite a bit about multiple regions. So I'm maybe more of a rainbow in that regard, that I like to look at it on a global scale rather than be like one region specific. We're sidetracking a lot today. I'm sorry for those of you guys watching on YouTube. If you've had to like press fast forward or skip 15 times already, I'm sorry about that. We're sidetracking a lot. But having said that, I love it. I love it when you guys are engaging in chat and when you're being active and asking questions. So keep it coming. I love it. But also, if you want to ask me something, do the add the name is Toby in chat, because then I can see it with like a red bar around it. So if you want to have like a specific question relevant to what's going on in the game, do that, because then I can kind of peripherally see it. Sometimes I like to go over something and then 5 minutes later we can discuss. And actually, you know what? Let me just rewind a little, because during the game I said that this fight here happened because they rotated at the same time. But I want to see if it was on purpose or not. Sonic start rotating. Batulins and Spiro hears that. How do they react? Tickleton stops to scout. Timing. Mime drives, they run into each other. So Batulins knew this and he runs out to the street. He probably... So With the way that Hiruzen and Lou are driving, Lou is just full speed forwarding it to the other side of the road. And Hiruzen gets knocked out of the car there, I believe. It's just a timing thing. Okay. I thought they were trying to set up, like I thought maybe one team had tried to set up and ambush them. But no. Was I a analyst for Liquid? Nope. Nope. I was not. I did do analysis for Cloud9 for one tournament. But that was it. I was just hired by Cloud9 to work one event with them, the Faces Global Summit. But other than that, no. I've never been like a coach or a, like longer term analyst for one team. What's my hair routine? I don't have one. That's the secret. The secret to my hair is that I don't have a secret. What? You saw me in a Liquid video for PGC? I'm confused. I wasn't at PGC. I wasn't there. So I don't know. It wasn't me anyway. And I don't think there are any other male casters with long hair. I don't know. I don't know what you saw. Let's continue. Maybe you're wrong. I think so. I think I would remember if I had casted a global event in America. But yeah. No, I wasn't there. Imposter. Yep, that's gotta be it. Circle shifts up towards the north. Again, similar story to last game. I don't have to go over it once more with the water and how teams like to have positions on both sides. Circle this time around shifts to the north. And now let's take a break. Not an actual break, but let's just take a little break. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams north. We've already wiped Sonics. So 6 teams north and 9 teams south. Pretty, it's not an even split, but more even anyway. The only thing is, now that we are all toward, now that we're out towards the west side, the only way we can cross without crossing a bridge is over Yasnaya, or well, anywhere east of here. That way. So everyone trying to make their way in now will most likely, to some extent, have to cross a bridge, unless if they opt to swim across, which would be very surprising to me. So let's see how that works out for teams trying to make their way into the circle. Everyone's trying to rotate back towards the east. Look at this down here. I say everyone, and I mark 2 teams, or 3 actually, but yeah. Everyone goes east. Nope, only 3 teams, Toby. And why does this happen? PO and Loki are already up here. Look at this Gen G split. Info. Info, 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 info. Get information and rotate accordingly. And that's exactly what they do. They wrap over the north side, towards the west in the meantime. Tianba, they make their way over the hills. Aggressive, ballsy, 2-way split. I like it. The thing is, the only issue with that is that the way they're sitting right now, there just ain't that many compounds available. You have shooting range. We've barely got Severny in. We got 1 compound up here, but really there's only these compounds down towards the southwest, outside of these 2. So them trying to grab 2 of them with, again, in a position where the vision is getting blocked off here. So you have to rotate in order to help. Could turn out to be pretty dangerous. How do I feel about this format? It's really grown on me, Bambusha, I have to say. It's grown on me. I was skeptic at first, but it's grown on me. This was a cool engagement. So T1 and Tianba fight off one another. First we have Day Trade. They try to rotate through. Doesn't work out. Dang J hops up, spots him. T1 then try and pull up on Tianba. They get completely battered. Interforce 36 comes down the hill. Tries to scout forward. Sylvia goes down. And here comes Oath. Day Trade, Tianba about to leave. You can see how they're kind of... Let's go up here. Let's go down there. They probably want to scout further forward. Oath, they scout down. They go, yeehaw! Let's go engage in this compound. I don't know if they didn't see them. I would assume they saw vehicles there. But maybe they, again, recognized that it was a split. So they take the fight to them. And this was a really cool fight. Mings finds the first. And they don't know about these two players at this point. Like, they haven't seen them yet. And it's one of those, as long as you have the element of surprise, you have to use it to your advantage, right? So Lin Shun spots one, takes down Pat Caps. Mings comes around the backside, throws a molly to isolate him, takes him down. And then Snakers spots him, makes a drive-by, tries to get the kill. And that's when the runner pops up and takes out Snakers. So just overall, as dangerous as it was, the two elements of surprise that they had, they both hit their shots when they had to, and it worked out perfectly. So incredibly well played by Tianba in a situation where they were kind of already headed out. They were already going the other way. They go, wait, holy moly, we're getting pulled up on right now. Let's turn around and take the fight to them. They do that, and they not only kill them, but they don't lose a single player either. So very impressive. Can you... There you can. Be pretty... Now that I have one of those on my hand, I have to flash it, right? It's the only bling bling that I have is my wedding ring. So unfortunately, Salty, not available. Not available. It's tough. It's tough. But that's just the way it is. Let's see. They get the reses up. They get to move further forward. And now, what few compounds we had available just before... What's with the blue spot on the wall? I will go over that in just a second. What few spots and compounds we had available before, we now have none of, other than Multi-Circle Gaming's compound up towards the north. Everything else is hills and forest. This here goes down that way. This over here goes down that way. And the valley is down here in the bottom. And yeah, it's incredibly difficult to play this circle. We also have downhill on this side. I guess this is... There you go. That's your terrain. I should be the one drawing the maps for these games. Wouldn't it look great if it was me doing that? Everyone has to try and figure out a way to get inside this next circle, and the only place you can really play from in the open at this point is either down here or not. It's either here or here, and you can barely even do that. So even though it's just incredibly difficult. No, even though, just it's incredibly difficult to play this circle, especially if you're not in already and kind of have info from where teams are coming. So everyone's going to try and fight their way forward into it. A lot of these valley engagements end up going on. You saw teams try and kind of wrap around over the hilltop to take control. Circle shifts once more up towards Multi-Circle Gaming. You can kind of see this whole buffer zone that MCG has right now. There's just, they can't see anyone, really. There's nothing for them to shoot at for now because teams know that there's a team at the compound. Therefore, let's just not fight it. Everyone trying to make their way in from this side of the circle, and it's just a cluster. It's a cluster of everyone. Like, you're trying to rotate forward, but at the same time, you're getting massively fought against by practically everyone. D8 try and play it quiet around the shack and play in late. It's really, really, really a difficult spot to fight through. Teams try and take control of the low point. The thing is, you don't want to have to move down the... as long as there's fighting going on over here, you can play over here. But if the fighting ends here and you're in the open still fighting here, because you're forced to, in this case, look at the team you're up against, if there's only one team over here, they will just third party both of you. Same thing going the other way. If this fight here comes to an end and EJ is eliminated, and there's two teams fighting up here, they're looking that way, they're looking that way. If there's only one team here, they get a freebie. And even if this fight comes to an end, once you then have to push down the hill, they will be shooting at you from a safe position, right? So you need to clear your side. You need to clear your hill as fast as you possibly can. Do I have longer hair? I love how PUBG relevant these questions are, but as a matter of fact, yes, right now I do. I have been wanting to get a haircut for a while, not gonna lie. But because of COVID and everything, it's been impossible. So once Denmark opens up again, I am gonna go get a haircut. Not that I'm gonna get like short hair, but probably like shoulder length. It's gotten pretty Pretty wild, this hair. I'm gonna go get a haircut at some point. Multi-circle gaming, still in. Run out and go aggressive if you don't have to. Petrichor, they try and send it down the hill. They realize now that, this fight ended. We cannot just run down. That's gonna get us shot at, just like we saw before. Like I talked about before with Na'Vi now in a position to take the fight up the hill. We gotta surprise them somehow. We gotta full speed send it down, and that's exactly what they do. Full speed down the hill they go, in towards the compound. Get the res on one, and this is where multi-circle gaming, like, they have the narrowest angle from where they can see them when they're resing in here. So every time they get back up alive, they end up getting knocked again. Just really frustrating. DA now trying to make a play. They were stuck inside this shack for a while, but because the fight happening the way that it did, and Lou and Batulin's kind of playing on a plateau here, they now have a chance to make a play. They get the knock, crucial knock, by the way. So you see now is when the circle starts moving as they run. It's one of those, you have to get a knock. You need to knock a player. Once you get the knock, full speed forward. That's what happens. They get the knock, sprint up the hill, and now they take the fight to them. Super smart play by DA. They desperately need the knock. They rely on each other to get it. They find it, and they manage to make their way forward. Last player for Gen G, PO, trying to again do his PO things, ends up going down. Petrichor, 3 alive, and this is just a, please give us the circle, set all these players. But of course, when you have 4 players here, 3 players here, 2 players here, they just have more players to pray with. I mean, and the harder you pray, the more you get the circle. So the team with 4 life gets the circle. That's how praying works, for those of you guys who didn't know. So now DA, they have to get down the hill. Good luck, have fun. Petrichor, they need to get into the circle. The only issue is, and this is where multi-circle gaming plays this one incredibly well, because if this fight over here comes to an end while multi-circle gaming are still sitting in the compound, this team could potentially take control of the hill, get the final shift towards them, and multi-circle gaming will be like contained inside the compound. So they now know that in order for this not to happen, we have to try and make a play while this is still going on. And you see they're starting to be more active now. They're starting to run around. They send Summer out. This is still going on. They send Summer out up towards the shack. Now we have 1 outside the compound. That's good. That's a start. Let's see if we can get more. Tank starts crowding across the street. This is still a thing. They know that Petrichor cannot go up. They cannot go up. Like, no, what Petrichor would do, had DA not been here, Petrichor would be sitting up here, and they'd be looking. They're only 3 alive, but you know what I mean. They'd be sitting up here, they'd be looking this way to try and contain. But if Petrichor does this now, they get shot in the back by DA. I mean, now he's over there, but you know what I mean. He gets shot in the back by DA. And they know this. As long as Petrichor has to worry about DA, we have a chance to make a play. And they go out and they take control. They play proactive. They force them back on the edge. Evil Lee stays up on the roof to try and get the overview angle, and they're completely isolated. Just incredibly well played by multi-circle gaming. The final circle goes their way as well, and now they have control. If this had gone the other way, if when DA died, which is there, if they had all still been in the compound, and Tank hadn't been up here to show presence and nade and throw mollies and whatnot, if they'd all been down here, Petrichor would have been able to sit like this. And just play isolate. You hold the center. You make sure no one can flank there. You make sure no one can flank there. Good luck, have fun, try and come out of the compound. But instead, because they play aggressive, because they use the info that they have to their own advantage, they end up isolating them on the edge of the circle. Incredibly well played by multi-circle gaming, and it's a pretty straightforward win for them. Now they do get 2 knocks, and for a second I was like, oh, Hex left! But no, he doesn't do it. He does not do it, and multi-circle gaming wins the game. Yes, they get the circles going their way. Yes, it's they just camped and got the win. But no, because many other teams in this situation, when DA dies, would not have been here. They would still have been down here, and that would have cost them the game. We see it time and time again. Every time I read that people go, oh, they just had the compound. They were just so lucky. I'm like, yep, sure, they got the compound. Even whatever team you're a fan of, that, I mean, it's so ironic, right? It's so, what's the word? Hypocritical People are being hypocrites when going, oh, no, they just got compounds, they're just lucky. And then they're a fan of a team. And then when their team gets the compound, it's like, yeah, good game, guys, good game. You really brought that one home in the end of it. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. I see it all the time. The same people in the chat, because I watch back the VODs, and when I watch the VOD, I can see the chat as well. So if you write stupid stuff about me, which, I mean, you're do whatever you want, I read that as well. People do it all the time. It's the same people. They go lul TA lul just camping, and then when their team is camping, it's like, yeah, smart strategy, guys, good play. And I'm like, it's mind-boggling. But you know, people do what people do. Can't complain. Game 5. Last game of the day. And I think I can say already now that I was planning, I mean, this doesn't really matter if you're watching on YouTube, but I was planning on doing both the games analysis today. I think I'm only going to do one, because I do have things I need to get done today, and we streamed prior to getting started, and I don't want to be super, I'm already a little tired now, so I don't want to be super fatigued after. So I'm going to do the analysis of day 2, probably tomorrow after the weekly survival games are over. The blue spot on the wall. You know what? Yes, before this game starts, if you're watching on YouTube as well, I want your comment on this. So I am considering painting my room now that I'm done casting PGIs. So this week, technically, I don't have to do anything. I still got a lot of things I need to get done, but I'm not casting anyway. So I was thinking, now finally, I have a week where I can get stuff done in my office. And I haven't really done anything other than, and again, if you're watching on YouTube, you're welcome to comment down on this as well. I just have this ugly IKEA furniture in the back. And I've been considering if I should just paint the entire room this color, kind of blue-ish. It's not the same blue that you're seeing here, because this is like, what is it called? Digital Vibrance, I think. So it's a little less blue, it's more gray blue-ish, but I was considering doing that, putting up some lights, getting some shelves up on the wall instead of having the big ugly IKEA square box thingy. Not this color. What mic do I use? AT2020 it's called. A bit lighter shade. So it should be a lighter blue color. Is it all the Liquid fans going, Toby, you should just have Liquid blue on your wall so that you would be a fan for life, bro? Is that what's going on? Are you guys trying to force me to be a Liquid wall color fan? Light is better. You're an interior designer, them? Oh, okay. Definitely Liquid fans. That's what I thought. I just thought dark blue with, then you have like, if I get paintings on the wall, then I could have like light colored, what do you call it? Frames, poster frames and stuff like that. Maybe some light colored, like light wood colored shelves on the wall, and have some cool lighting. I don't know. I'll see. That's why I only painted a little square, so that I can. I mean, I just bought one of those small boxes with painting in it, so I could test it out. You know, I still haven't fully committed to a color yet. Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out. But that's we will. You know what? Let's finish up this last game so that if people are watching on YouTube, they again don't have to fast forward and skip. Because we have done a lot of sidetrack talking, which I think is fine. We can do it after we've done analysis of this game. So let's take the final game of day number 1, and then we'll go back to interior design discussion afterwards. Plain, pretty straightforward. Daytrade thought they got Saki to themselves. Then Oath was like, nope. And then they thought they had North George to themselves. And then Enter Force 36 was like, nope. And then the circle went away from all of them. So that's the start to the game. Playing path, pretty straightforward. Anything else out of the ordinary? No. All pretty straightforward. Gen G back in Milta. Sonic's getting loaded up. VP, DA. Yeah, it's all pretty straightforward. Out towards the east we go. And again, pretty straightforward rotation opportunities as well. Over potato, over volcano, north of Yasnaya, underneath Yasnaya, in from the north, in from the farm, and over the dirt road. Are probably the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 routes you would take into this circle. By the way, for all of those of you guys following, much appreciated. Believe me, I truly do appreciate it. I truly do appreciate the follows coming in. And the subs and all the other stuff. But all of you, thanks for the support. Meta rotating forward, infantry doing the same thing. T1, they go, yeah, we know that infantry loot here. Let's just go far away and not have to deal with them. So they take the cross down here. Makes perfect sense as well. Is the circle set or random? It's random. There's no so game 5 tomorrow is going to go to Milta. There's no rules like that. It's just random circles. Infantry lose 1 as they try and scout forward. Circle goes up towards the north. And I guess we can draw 3 lines here if we go like this. And no, that's not really lines. We'll just, how do I want to draw this up? You guys already know this, but I'll draw it anyway. This down here is a plateau. Very flat, very pancakey. There are trees. There are more trees now than there used to be. And with this fortification down here, that does help a bit as well. But it's very open. And that's currently pretty much the center of the circle. So there isn't a whole lot. Just draw an animal and it all makes sense. There's a dog down here. Because how, Toby, will this ever become a dog? An upside down dog with a nose. Yep, either way. There it's been a long day already, guys. There's a lot of open field down here, and you can't really utilize that. And we've seen it before, and we see it here again. When the center is open, all these edge teams that are used to seeing center teams keep rotating in towards the middle, because those teams don't make their way in. So an example is, let's just hop into the water, and I can draw it up for you. If we have center team, not so center team, edge team. Those are our 3 teams here. Circle was center before. That's where this guy was sitting. Now the circle shifts over here. But now the circle center is in the open. That means that this team that was center before, they're going to go, okay, so there's no center to take. You know what? We'll just stick around here. Normally, when a new center pops, the center team goes, mine now. They go over there. And then the team that wasn't center go, aha, these guys left, we'll take their spot. And then the guys that like to play the edge go, aha, they left, we'll take their spot. But now, because this team doesn't move, because there's nothing to take, these teams can't do that. So because these guys stop, it's like if you're walking 10 people on a line and the first person stops walking, they all fall into him, you know? It becomes like a harmonica, whatever you call it. Is it called that in English too? In Denmark, we call it a harmonica sammenstød, which I guess in English would be a harmonica car crash. Is that what it's called in English too? But either way, that's kind of what happens on the edge of the circles. Because no one opts to go in towards the center, everyone starts sitting on top of each other on the edges. And you can see it now. Teams trying to find their way in, but there's way more people on the outer perimeter of the circle than there normally would be. So they're forced to take fights. They're forced to take fights down here. Forced to take fights up here. Edges become much more clustered when the center is not unplayable, but as open as it is here. Yeah, maybe. Is that what it's called in English? I don't know. I have no idea what it's called. Again, center, very open. All you can really play is either into the fortification here, or into King Wind Dip. Carom? I don't know. I don't know the answer. If you say that's the name, then I'm sure that's probably true. Circle. Next one shifts towards the south, and it's as if the game just really, really, really hates the players. Because this circle, I mean, while this one was difficult to play, we still had 49 people that survived the push. Meta, I like how they push down. Again, they have the compound. They know it's available. But they don't just sit there. They spread out. They take control. Enter Force 36, take notes. They spread out and take control. They keep their splits. They try and maintain control and knowledge of what's going on around them. And then when the circle shifts, they have a place to go, right? New circle pops. They instantly go up or just take control up on the hills up. Want to hold out day trade. Now that doesn't really end up working out for them, but they try. They try and make a play and make something move. Oath, they read this and they go, great. What can we do from here? Push down the hill slowly. We gonna die. Also from there. Push towards infantry. We gonna die. Push towards VP. We gonna die. Push into the field. We gonna die. Push multi-circle gaming. We gonna die. It took longer than I thought it did. I forgot that Balefrost survived the smokes for as long as he did. I thought they died faster. That was a long wait for the punchline. But either way, there's just not a whole lot Oath can do from here. It really is difficult. They go great. Alamo is an absolute shit show to try and push. Museum, kind of the same story. And when Navi hasn't left yet, if we pull up on this, like even if we come in from the side, we're gonna get third-partied so freaking massively that from both sides here, there's just nothing we can do. The only alternative, I would say, to where they ended up going would have been to take the fight to infantry. Or to maybe try and wrap behind. But the thing is, they don't know if there's anyone down here. At least I don't think they know, do they? They know that infantry are down here. So maybe they don't know if infantry also has control over this. The only alternative, once the circle pops, would be for them to try and do something like this. They don't know if there's people in shelter. They don't know if there's people down here. And that's, I mean, that's us knowing everything. There's a massive hill here. They can't even scout. Like, they can't even see that. They can't see this because the vision is blocked from here. So maybe they could have tried to go up here and scout. But because Navi is up here, they can't do that. As soon as they stand on this hill, they get completely butchered by Navi on the other side. So they don't have a chance to scout it. And it's just, that's a death race. Everything for them really here is a death race. It's an incredibly unlucky shift for them. There's as much of a risk of 3 teams being here as there is as this being open. I mean, it's one of those, you know what? Make a decision. Commit to it. Yesterday I watched the old, it's not really that old, but it's the movie with Matthew McConaughey. All right. You have to say that when you say his name. U-571. It's like a U-boat movie about World War II. And one of the very big rules was, it might not always be the best decision, but as a captain, you have to make a decision and you have to go with it. And there can be no doubt in your teammates' minds that it's the decision we're going with. And both, they committed. They full speed sent it into multi-circle gaming, and they cleared multi-circle gaming. They stayed alive for a second, but as Enter Force 36 realized as well, and thank you, Enter Force 36, for pulling up on something. They had a third-party opportunity. They pulled in. They pulled up. They got the kill. They got themselves a position to play from, at least for a little while. Then more teams came in. They tried to hold out. Again, smart playing by them. This time around, it's a good position to be in. Go aggressive. It's not working out for them. This entire top side up here is just incredibly difficult to play around. School is prison, sorry, is incredibly difficult to play around. Especially when you have Flash and Poochus up over the top of the hill. I like how Longsker is pushed down here. This is actually something I didn't notice during the game. Long skirt drives across, runs up the hill, tries to get an off angle, maybe scout something towards DA. What does he do from this position? Oh, okay, so he goes back down. They try to set up here and hold out Virtus Pro. They get 1 knock, they get 2 knock, they end up going down. School prison, yeah. If you ask a really upset 13-year-old boy, then he's probably gonna agree with you that school and prison is the same. Circle goes down towards the south. Again, into school we go. At least now we're kind of shifting away from the field. And this is where Poochus and Flash become incredibly viable. Or relevant, I should say. Meta, they're on the edge. Right now, you can see here, Flash is shooting over towards Silson. Poochus realizes that the push is coming in from Meta on this side. And if they lose this, they're not so worried about the bottom of it. But if they lose this, they can't really go anywhere if they're day trade. So Poochus runs back down, goes through the buildings, maybe gets himself a helmet or vest or whatever. It seems like he's looting a little bit with the way that he's running around in here. They try to play contain on Meta, and there's one rule, and we've had these before. So I will question you, chat. There's one rule for Flash right now. What is the absolute most important thing for Flash right now with the way that he's playing, with his position? Thank you. Thank you, Smoking. Thank you, Asmo. Thank you, T-Faced. Do not get knocked. You don't have to shoot at all of them. As long as you give the info. Don't talk about fight. That's also true. That's rule number 2. Don't do anything. That's also true. Prone, looking to the ground, and just hide until we win. No, it's the first one is correct. Don't get knocked. If he goes down up here, you're gonna be in trouble. That's your entire, like, that's your eye in the sky. Norrens is sitting below these rocks, kind of looking uphill, trying to see in case Meta peeks over, then he will get a free shot on them. So he doesn't really have an impact other than trying to hold that, or in case they wrap over here. Poochus just pushed down from the hillside to help below, and Vanotika is sitting on the wall down here as well. Flash, your job is to spot all these guys. Spot all those guys. Make sure that day trade doesn't go up here. Oh, day trade, sorry, DA. Make sure that if DA pushes over here, you give the info to your teammates. And most importantly, do all that without getting knocked. I don't even care if he never even takes out his gun. Just get info, don't get knocked. You are like the UAV for anyone who has played whatever Battlefield or Call of Duty or any of those games with UAVs in them. You are the UAV right now for your team. Stay alive, stay up, keep feeding info, and help out your team. And you know what? That is exactly what Flash does. Gives the info below. You could see at one point Vanotika is peeking kind of over to this side, and then all of a sudden, he just swings right and knocks the guy over here. And we noticed it from Flash's angle. Flash is looking over that way, and you can just tell, I mean, even though we don't hear their communication, that must have been a comms thing, because Flash hears him, and Vanotika is looking kind of this way, and he's like, angles it over to the right a little more. Just incredibly well played by Day Trade in this one. So they set up, they hold off, now they get the final kill. Not all thanks to, because I mean, they still had to get the kills down here, but a lot of it is thanks to Flash's play from the hilltop. DXG try to push down. Again, not really anywhere they can go. There's no reason for these teams to fight each other. All they have to do is hold out DXG. Still, Flash, his presence up here means that DA cannot run up the hillside. And he keeps containing. And most importantly, he doesn't get knocked. Most importantly, he does not get knocked. Plays it safe. Keeps moving down slowly with the blue, keeps looking across, keeps making sure that they can't make this run up here. And he alone is what forces DA to make this play. Had he gone down early, DA would have been up here, had an insane angle on all of Day Trade, and they couldn't have done anything from below. But because Flash plays the way, like, Flash was easily the Day Trade MVP of this game. He might not have had the kills, I don't even know. Can I see that somewhere? I'm not even sure. Let's see Flash. Oh, that's his equipment. Can we see how many kills he had? 0. Flash did 300 damage and had 0 kills. Manotika had 5 kills. PUBG had 3 kills. So Flash had the least damage and the least kills. 4 kills for Norins, 5 kills for Manotika, and 3 kills for PUBG. Flash had 0 kills. So if you look at stats, if we just go into the numbers, you can go, oh, Flash didn't even do anything. What Flash did is what allowed for them to get the kills that they got. And oftentimes, when we look at the kill leaders, when we look at the damage leaders, there are some names that go unmentioned in those standings. There are some support players that do incredibly well that don't really get the amount of, not respect, but the amount of recognition that they deserve. And Flash in this game in particular, if there's a support player, like if there's a UAV recon player that you want to have in your team, if a teammate can do what Flash did this game, every game, whew, that's a high value player right there. Doesn't matter if he didn't do any damage. He will let the other ones go out and do that. He stayed alive. He gave the info to his team, and yeah, and he was a big part of what won them the game. So with that said, if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for tuning in to this video, and we'll see you all in the next one.